Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, for this week's session of Nomi League. I'm Wes, and alongside to me me today is Eric. Eric, how are you doing today?
Doing great. Glad to be back here to commentate again. And we're actually going to see one new face this week from the Opie Dopes. That'll be Nick, who is our starting dealer. In addition to Nick, we will have Claire from the Peregrine FalKANs, Amy from the Destroyers, and Kevin from Team Yakumen.
Today's table is very strong today, especially with Claire, who is second, I believe, in our player rankings. Uh, who are you looking at today, especially? Anyone in particular?
Well, because Nick is new to the party, I'm curious to see how he's going to deal with the red fives and the big Homba. I think he's more of a traditional Akanashi player. But his team has been training hard to adapt to the rules. Of course, Claire is the person who had probably the strongest performance out of the other two. Sorry, the three have already played based on her performance in one of the previous week's sessions. She did great. And then Kevin, I think if he tempers his kind of concentration a little bit, will be able to pull through here. He got pretty unlucky in his first session of play. That 3-pin kept haunting him. We'll see if it happens again today.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing what Kevin does with 3 pins time around too. 3 pin was definitely haunting. Looking at opening hands, is there any hand that strikes you in particular?
Uh, well, Nick's hand isn't like particularly interesting, to be honest, as the dealer. He does have acceptance of the 3 Sodora. Claire's hand has the potential for maybe a 7-8-9 Sanchoku with some shifts, but also a very slow hand. Doesn't look like there's a ton of value there. Amy's hand has the potential for really good shapes, and that 2 Sodora definitely helps her out. Maybe a Riichi Pinfu Dora 1, or sorry, Dora 2 with the red 5. And then Kevin's hand, actually in fairly good shape to shift over to Tanya Pinfu, maybe. There's some ways you can get a Sanchoku with the right draws, but it seems a little far-fetched. So yeah, definitely Amy and Kevin's hands.
Yeah, I personally love me a good Sancho Kudora or Tanya Pinfu also. Uh,
It looks like um, Nick might be trying to leverage a 1-2-3 Sanchoku in his own hand, actually, by keeping that 1 So around a little bit longer than the safe tiles. And we'll see with this 3-pin draw. Okay, he decides to give up on it and just go conventionally. Makes sense if you're dealer. Meanwhile, I believe Amy has entered Ishanten at this point.
I also believe that's correct. Although you would have to cut the 5 so, which it is early, but might signal to other players something unexpected.
Yeah, it's definitely a sign of danger to just go dropping middle tiles early on in the first row. Amy could use that 5 So to upgrade her shapes, though. It looks like Nick has gotten into 2 Shanten with 3 Ranman shapes. So that hand come a far way, and you can even see some value with a Riichi Pinfu, maybe an upgrade to a 2-3-4 Sanchoku. And of course the Dora. Yeah, everyone's chugging along now. Nice fill for Claire. That puts her in 2 Shanten, though she doesn't have the kind of good shapes or value of the others. And Amy makes another Dora draw, looking like a Mangan chance here if she can snag the 4 So. I mean, it's a Mangan chance if you get the 4-7 pin too, but it will be on a worse weight. And Chris is actually going to pivot over here, choosing to discard the 1-mon pair. It's both safer and potentially gives him some pass to a 1-2-3 Sanchoku again, though I don't think that's going to happen.
Or maybe just trying to get to Tanya, potentially,
Yeah,
if you draw the 4 pin.
that's a great upgrade at that point. You have Tanya Pinfu, potential 2-3-4 Sanshoku. Really nice hand. Oh, Amy is in Tenpai, and I've just completely missed it. She's on the 4-7 pin weight, chooses the Dama here. It's a Pinfu Dora 3.
Infudor 3 sounds alright to Dama, wouldn't you say?
It's because the Ryanmen is a 4/7 pin Ryanmen, you don't expect those tiles to come out willy-nilly if you call Riichi, especially if you've discarded the 3 pin and the 8 pin, which indicate Urasuji. But I think this early in the game, you can also just justify the Riichi going for a Haneman. Still, that's kind of up to the player's preference and who they think they're playing against. Well, it looks like that's going to be Tenpai for Nick. 258, so wait for Riichi Pinfu Dora 1. And we're going to see if there's a chase here by Amy. Draws the 6-0, which is scary. It's the Dora Suji, but she has a really good hand here. And she's not going to drop the 3-0. All right, so we see a chase. 4/7 pin versus 258 so. Kevin finds the Genbutsu on his first draw. The 5-mon passes from Nick. Now it's just up to Amy's Ipatsu turn. And there's the 7-pin. Claire just drew into an Anko of it. So it looks like there's one 4-pin left in the wall. Versus what I'm just going to assume is more 258-sos. And there's the red 5-so Tsumo. Riichi Sumo Pinfu Dora 2. That's going to be a dealer Manga on 4,000 all. A very strong showing for Nick.
It's a great way to start for the Opie Dopes, considering they're in 5th place. And yep, go ahead.
No, absolutely. And you're kind of right. Even though Amy chased her, I guess she had a pretty good intuition that the 4/7 pins were pretty locked up and unlikely to come out if she did call Riichi. But of course, when someone else calls Riichi, then you expect to be able to get it from them. It was just a bit unfortunate that they were already gone in people's hands at that time. All right, looks like the Dora is the Hatsu. This is, of course, the first repeat. Honba are 1,500 points. It looks like Claire has a very, very strong starting hand. Potential 5, 6, 7 Sanchoku. Definitely Tanyao over there. Amy, too, looking for Tanyao. Strong shapes and a red 5. And then Kevin has a pair of the Dora right off the bat, and already Ishanten from Machitoi, looking for the 2-pin 5 mana or 8. So, of course, let's not gloss over Nick's hand, which is already 2 away with a 1, 2, 3, a 4-sided shape in Pinzu that can fill, and a 3-sided weight in Manzu. And now Nick is going to draw into a 4th pair also. Tough decision here. But yeah, it's going to go and cut the 2-pin pair.
I like it. I particularly I'm not a fan of Chitoy, especially with those shapes.
Yeah, and Nick's shapes are too flexible to consider going for Chito here. So Claire got into Ishanten. And she's looking for the 5/8 pin or the 6/9 mon. Of course, she can get the 6 mon. Then she has a chance for Tanyao. And Kevin's going to pawn the door over there. He is Ishanten now, looking for the 2, 3, 4, 5, 9 pin and 1 mon. Yeah, I was making sure that the 1 pin wasn't part of that.
You could potentially take the 1 pin and drop a 3 pin, but considering it is Kevin, we know the 3 pin will come back to haunt.
Yeah, and if you do that, you don't actually move forward in Shanten. So. And sorry, I made a mistake. You can't accept the 3/4 pin into Tenpai with those shapes. And there's the pawn into Tenpai 2 5-pin weight for Kevin. That'll be a Hatsu Dora 3, so everyone's going to be on guard now. And we're actually going to see a Chi from Nick. Calls the red 5, so looking to shut this down with a Tanyao. Claire is going to call Riichi. She cannot dama that hand because she drew the Yasume 9 mon, so that's 5/8 pin versus 2 5-pin. And there's the 3 pin. He keeps it, going for the toy, so it's changed to a 1 mon 4-pin weight. And there's the 1 mon. Nick can't use it. And it deals in immediately. Hatsu Toy Dora 3 is going to be a Hanemon. 12,000 plus the repeat is 13,500. And there goes the points that Nick just saved up. A little bit unfortunate. He drew the wrong side of the three-side weight, trying to shut down that Mangan and the Ricci, but, you know, it was a risk. That being said, I don't know if there was a whole lot that could have been done to avoid it. And we move into Claire's dealership, East 2.
Looking at opening hands here, Kevin has a pair of E's, but some of the shapes are coming together in the Manzu. The rest, a little bit needs a little bit more time. I guess the Manzu and the Sozu.
Yeah.
Trying to look around at other hands.
Amy's hand is quite strong here. She has the Haku pair. She has access to the red 5 as well as the normal door if she draws it. Could potentially evolve into a Sozu Honitsu, though I don't think that's likely. It looks like Kevin's hand is relatively slow, though it has 2 Dora, and Nick's hand has a potential for a 1-2-3 Sanchoku assist draw around the Dora 1 So, but it's a little bit clunky. Claire's hand, however, is probably the slowest of the bunch at the moment. Can't really open up with it. It started off looking like a potential Kokshi, but that's a little bit too slow to go towards as dealer. And it looks like Nick has made an Anko of the 6-pin. That will put him in Ishanten. Doesn't want to drop the Dora just yet. Pairing that up would inject a lot of value into this hand, which is likely a Ricci Nomi otherwise. And then Kevin's going to form a Renmin here. So his hand is moving forward fairly fast. No sign of that East coming out yet.
A little bit unfortunate for him that nobody's drawn it, but so it happens sometimes. It's Mahjong.
And so it's a little unfortunate that hasn't been drawn, and it's the double East because it's unlikely to come out later on if it's still live. But there's the Ricci from Nick. 1-4 looking for Ricci only. Decides not to take the open Ricci for the value, just wants to maximize win rate. And no Ipatsu. So I guess Claire could be in danger if she tries to fight this because she has that kind of floating 1-mon in the hand, but it doesn't look like any of the other players are in direct danger at the moment, even if they decide to push. And now that 3-mon draw from Claire is going to cut that possibility off a little. Amy does not take the pawn, prefers the safety, and indeed does break the Haku pair right then. So even though this is a Ricci Nomi, the Ricci is getting people to fold. It's killed off the Dora too, so Nick doesn't have to worry that much about super duper expensive Dora 3 hands chasing him.
Amy continuing to cut the Haku. Just
Oh,
play defense.
there's the 1-mon sumo right after Kevin drew the 4-mon. So it'll be Ricci sumo. And the Urador is the 3-pin. That's 2 Ura. And that's how you get a Mangan out of a Ricci Nomi. So immediately recoup some of the lost points from last round with a nice 8K win. As we move into East 3, Amy's dealership. Looks like Dora is the 1 So again, I want to say.
Yeah, the 1-pin, correct.
Oh, it's the 1-pin, sorry. Amy's hand here starts off with a pair of the Chun and a Dora. She has flexible shapes in the upper Pinzu. Looks like it's not that bad of a hand, though still want to make another block. Or at the very least, an alternate pair. Kevin's hand, I don't know, a little bit slow. Has the Dora, but a couple of bad shapes. Probably just going to aim for a Ricci and hope for a Pinfu with miracle draws. Nick's hand starts with 2 Akadora, 2 completed sequences, 2 pairs, and it looks like it could easily be shifted into a Tanya. So I definitely have bets on him. And he pairs up another south here. Meanwhile, Amy did make that chun pawn and has just drawn a 3-pin, giving her acceptance of the 2-pin. She can chi that as well now that she's open with Yaku. And oh, there's a pretty critical call of the 3-so for her. But her current Ishanten actually isn't that fantastic. You're maybe going to end up on a really cruddy Tonki weight. And there comes the Richi from Nick. Chooses to take the 3-6-man Shampon weight for Richi Dora 2. Not the best weight, but it's a head start Richi. Of course, the other option is to Dama there and look for a Ryanmen improvement around the 3 or the 6-man. Since there's a lot of tiles that'll give you a nice Ryanmen shape. But this early, and with Amy having called twice, putting the pressure on doesn't seem like a bad move. And there's the 6-man sumo. Reach sumo door to another mangan unless there's more Ura. Nope. That'll be another 2k, 4k. So now he's definitely made back everything that he started with. By which I mean, you know, he got the 12k, he lost 12k, he got back 8k, now he got back another 8k, so he's floating above his first win now. And Dora's the 5-pin going into East 4. Looks like Kevin, as the dealer, has started off with a double East pair. And the rest of his hand seems to be in pretty good shape as well. Dora is the 5-pin, has acceptance for that. Looking at Nick's hand, looks like there's acceptance for that too. Nick has a pair of the Hatsu, just made a pair of the 8 mod. Looking like a relatively fast hand as well. Going over to Claire, she has a completed 1-2-3 sequence, a pair of 1-pin, needs to make some more blocks, but not terrible. And Amy's hand is already on 4 pairs and could shift over to a Honitsu or even a Manzu Chinitsu.
Even getting a little bit unlucky drawing back-to-back south.
Yeah. Then again, Kevin kind of has the material he needs to complete this hand, though he would like to get an upgrade for the 8-9-man Penchun. Oh, there's a 9-pin draw. That'll certainly help widen the possibilities. There's even an outside chance at an Itsu now in Pinzu. And Nick forms a 4th pair, but not really interested in the Chitoi. It looks like a hand that he can open with the Hatsu, so just prioritizes keeping the good shape around. Makes sense. Okay, and there's a 4-mon from Kevin, discards it a bit emphatically. In the future, that could become useful as a Suji trap on the 7-mon. And there's a completed 6-7-8 that'll put Kevin in Ishanten. Of course, if he gets Tenpai on the 7-mon, he's probably going to take the Shampon looking for the double East win. Otherwise, it's going to be a Richinomi, even if it does have a good weight. And there's an East in Amy's hand right now. She is Chitoi Ishanten, looking for 5-pin, 5-mon, or East. Decides to keep the 5s, looking to draw the red 5s, of course. And there's one away for Nick as well. He can also pawn the Hatsu and move into a 1-away that can be called for if Claire decides to drop it. I mean, Claire's own hand has turned into a Chanta 2 Shantan, maybe even a Chanta Sanchoku or a Junchan if that Hatsu ends up leaving the hand. Could be a very, very large hand. And actually decides to drop the Hatsu now, looking for an Ipeiko around the lower Manzu perhaps, and trying to lock in that Chanta even more. And that'll be Ishanten for Chanta Ipeiko.
Yeah, I like this call from Nick just to speed things up. Airhead, might as well.
Oh, but Amy is Tenpai now. Chitoi Dora 2, trying to decide whether she wants to Richi or Dama, but Either way, I think she'll be taking the Ton Tanki. It's tricky, but yeah, on an honor weight, it seems like it's pretty fine. If someone has a pair or even a triplet, they might try and break it up and deal into you, even though it's a live tile. Can't quite see what Kevin drew there. Is that the 7-mon or... Oh, it is
It
the
is the
7-mon.
7.
And now he has to decide, will he chase on the Yuanmin weight, now that there's another Ricci, or is he still going to greed for the double east? Once again, this is the 3-pin is involved here, so... Oh, is it? Okay, he chases on the good weight, which makes sense. If you're chasing someone, it's more important to have a good weight than value most of the time. That being said, there are already 3 of the 1-4 pin visible. It looks like Nick is just going to drop that 3-pin, knowing it's Genbutsu. Could have entered Tenpai on a 2-so or a 3-so Tonki, but didn't want to risk it. And there's the Patsumo for Kevin. So Richi Patsumo. And I can't see what the Ura is. It's the north. All right, so Richi Patsumo should be 2,000 all. A very nice win there. So correctly chose to chase on the good weight rather than the greedy weight. And Amy's tons were just dead on arrival, more or less. Just one left in the wall.
And as a reminder for everyone watching, we do have Big Hamba on. So a repeat is pretty good for anyone who wants to get back in. Especially Amy and Claire, who are looking to be in 3rd and 4th place respectively right now.
Yep, that seems about right. And Kevin is going to look to take advantage of that with consecutive dealer repeats. This Hatsu pair is definitely going to make his hand fast to call. Door's the 6-mon, and importantly, the red 5-mon is the indicator, so that's one less red door in the game. Nick's hand looks pretty good as well, with 1 door and decent shapes. However, it's going to need a little bit of love and care to get to Tenpai. Same kind of deal with Claire's hand, she has 1 red, and then Amy's hand, similarly, has a Dora, has decent shapes, but is far away from Tenpai. So I think Amy's hand can move towards an open Tanyao Dora 1, especially with the Honba being as big as you mentioned.
Yeah, how do you approach Big Hamba? Just, if you don't mind me asking.
It really depends on the point situation, but if you have a hand that's really, really bad, I found that it's actually harmful to push too hard just because it is big Honba. I tend to still play the hand normally and take a more conservative approach. Because at the very least, if I can't win the hand, I can prevent other people from winning that Honba and make it continue to the next dealership. But yeah, in general, with the big Honba, you're going to be going for a lot of earlier calls because your 2-han hand is worth a lot more, even with just 1 Honba on the table. And when you have 2 or 3, you're talking about free Mongons left and right, so you just play a lot more aggressively in general.
Kevin drawing a nice upgrade there with the 4-pin, completing the 2-3-4-pin shape.
Yeah, it looks like Kevin is in Ishanten looking for the 7-pin. Oh no, sorry, 2-shanten. Could go for a Pinzu Itsu with a 1-pin or a 7-pin draw. So I think he's still going to just open at the first chance possible. And Claire's hand has come together nicely now. She has 6 blocks, so she'll need to cut probably one of the Manzu shapes, getting closer to Tenpai. And there's that pawn for Kevin of the Hatsu. That's going to put him in Ishanten. Decides to drop the 1-so there. I think that's a slight inaccuracy, just because the Pinzu shape doesn't need that 9-pin anymore, but maybe he's thinking of greeting for Itsu. It weakens your Soju shape a little bit too much, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Drawing another 9-pin there.
Okay, he's just gonna dump it all together, looking for the ability to point into Tenpai and maybe far away Honitsu Dreams. Still a little bit dubious with one of the 9 pins out and the 4-mon being the other pair, but it could blossom into an expensive hand.
Not cheating on that 1-pin though.
Yeah, which makes me question why we're dropping the Sozu group altogether, but we'll see. Nick is going to draw a third 9-so. That'll put him in an Yishan where he can get Pinfu no matter what. Looking for a 3-6-0, 3-6 pin. And Amy choosing blocks decides to get rid of the 6-7 so, since it looks like it should pass dealer. And perfect Yishan for Nick now with that 4-pin draw. Ah, there's the 9-pin. And I'll put Kevin and Tenpai on the 7-pin only. So it'll be a Hatsu +1 repeat. Looks like there are 3 of the 7 pins left in the wall. Or actually, 1 is cheated by Claire as well. So 2 7 pins left in the wall for Kevin to win off of. There's a nice 6-pin draw for Amy. That'll put her in Yishan. And it looks like there was a little workaround action from Nick. Doesn't want to deal into Kevin's hand and add another Homba to the table. If Kevin has even just like Hatsudora 1, it can become quite expensive. And a nice upgrade for Kevin there onto the 147 weight. Now Nick is Yishan again. But the lack of Pinzu in the discards is, going to dissuade him from pushing this any further.
Yeah.
And there's the 1-pin deal in from Claire. That change came in at the last second. The 1-pin had passed the turn before, so it seemed pretty unlikely that he'd be waiting on it now. So if it's calculated correctly, that should be 1,500 plus the Homba for 3,000 total. Not enough food to upgrade there. But yeah, we go into repeat 2 of Kevin's dealership in East 4. Looks like the door is the 8-so. And Kevin, once again, not starting with a bad array of shapes here. No Yakuhai this time, but it looks like a lot of good expandable shapes. Maybe a little bit of awkward overlapping in the 1-4-so area, but not terrible. And it's really just the 4-so that's overlapping because he has 2 Sozurianmens. Nick's hand starts with an Anko of the North, a red 5-so and a 6-so that can accept... Oh no, it can't quite accept the Dora. Dora is the 8-so, but not too bad. Claire's hand, also not looking that bad for a Ricci Pinfu. And then Amy starting with 3 pairs and a 2 Dora, but a little bit difficult to fill at the moment. Of course, now that there's 2 home on the table, people don't care if their hand is a little bit slow. They're probably going to be calling left and right if possible. That being said, it doesn't look like Nick can call, doesn't look like Kevin can call. Claire's hand would be hard-pressed to call with the 7-8-9 mon locked in, and Amy's hand, unless she's going for some bonkers toy, I don't think would call either, so it might be a little slower than you'd expect for 2 Homba.
Oh, Kevin drawing the 3-mon. Really upgrading the shapes there.
Yeah, he didn't want to get rid of the double east yet, maybe hoping to Tunky on it. Though, of course, if you keep the 8-mon, you have a wider acceptance to Tenpai, and you can get Pinfu if you draw a 7-mon.
Could also be reading the table that nobody else has dropped an east yet, and saving it as a save tile. Usually people like to get rid of early east, just so you don't give the dealer double east.
Yeah, I guess the problem being is if you're Kevin, you don't see any east. Someone could also have it paired up, but there is also a chance that it's in the wall. And he's going to drop it now that he upgrades to this Ryanmen in the Manzu.
Claire's hand progressing really nicely with that 4-mon pickup. How far away does that put her from Tenpai?
Looks like Nick is 2 Shanten. Looks like Claire is 2 Shanten. Amy is 2 Shanten. And Kevin is Ishanten. Or what's this that he drew? Oh, Kevin is Tenpai on the 3-so, decides to Dama because the 3-so Penchan / Tonki is not a good weight, and yet it comes out immediately. And he can win because it's Ipeiko. I think I probably would have just taken the Ricci on the Ryanmen. Or you can dom with that as well if you're really not happy with it because it's pinfu. So I'm not really sure why he chose to take the 3-so weight there because it's strictly worse. But it did end up coming out immediately, so maybe he made a better read than I did. And he goes into his third Honba. There's 4,500 points on the table, and this is exactly what I was talking about. Now, if you have any hand whatsoever, it doesn't matter if it's low value. The value is there for you already. And Claire's going to pawn immediately with the West Yakuhai.
We're always opening everything.
And Kevin's hand, for a change, like it's fast towards a Ricci, but it's relatively slow overall with the current shapes. Especially with 2 of the 3-pin gone in Nick's hand.
Yeah, but somehow the 3-pin always seems to find Kevin. We don't know how, and we don't know why. It just always seems to find him.
All right, Nick coming into his third pair over here, just keeping the efficient shapes. Not keeping as much safety because, you know, there's a lot of incentive to just push here. And Amy makes a nice draw into another Ryanman shape. Her hand is currently 3 away, but with 4 really strong shapes. And Claire's actually an Ishanten. She's looking for the 3-6 mon. Oh, Kevin's gonna cut the south pair. But that was his hand's only guaranteed pair at the moment, so not really sure what the intent here is. Maybe a shift to Pinfu around the 6-9 pin, but you can get Pinfu with the Southwind pair, so I think it was just a little bit of a slip. Ooh, a 1-2-3 Sanchoku chance for Nick, but it would mean giving up his only pair, so I don't think it's going to happen, especially since the door is the 4-so.
And there aren't really any hanging tiles, but does give up the 9-mon for the chance.
Okay, Amy draws into a shape that'll allow her to go for Tanyao, so rather than opting to cut down to the Ryankan 4-6-8 mon, she decides to cut the 1-mon pair. I think because Tanyao is not guaranteed on either the 9-so or the 9-pin draws, I'm just going to play it straightforward and cut for a normal pinfu because you still have chances at a 6-7-8 Sanchoku like that. But as is, she does make a nice draw of the 6-pin here and is currently Ishanten.
Yes.
Nick having a really long think about that 5-mon. As Amy draws into the 6-0 here.
Wow, just perfect draws back to back. So there'll be Tanyao Sanchoku Tenpai, there'll be 3 Handama, or she can call Ricci for a Mangan, and she does, waiting on the 7-mon, which just came out. With this much on the table already and the weight being pretty bad, especially with one of the 7-mon already out, I'd probably just default to a Dama here. Especially since you've portrayed your hand as really scary with the first few drops and like the Dora 4-so on turn 5. I just go to silently collect my 5,200 plus 4,500. That's plenty for me. But obviously, if your team is behind in the standings or you're looking to make a bigger impact on the table, the Ricci is just fine. And it's actually going to get some of the players to fold. Including Nick, who is now pretty much committed to the fold entirely after breaking that sequence.
Do you like it folding here from next position?
It's tricky because once again, yes, there's 4,500 plus the Ricci stick in the middle, but there's a lot of dangerous tiles you have to go through in order to fold. He can Moashi like he is now. I think if he's going to toss the 1-pin, he should probably do it the previous turn, but he doesn't have to fully fold. That being said, if you get into the position where you feel like you have a tile that's too dangerous to pass, then you're probably better off folding and preventing someone else from winning the home button, getting a direct hit off of you. Evan is actually back to 2 shanten. So now he's been given a pair of safe tiles. So at the moment, it looks like there are 2 7-mon left in the wall for Amy to draw. And now Nick has a kind of safe way to get back towards Tenpai.
Kevin did, on his last turn, pick up the 3-pin. Still completing that 2, 3, 4-pin
Right.
shape.
Oh, there's the second 7-mon. Which... Claire's in a tricky position because that 9-so is right next to the Riichi tile of the 7-so, and even if it is a one-chance tile, if they are waiting on a Shabo, that could be trouble. And Nick makes another draw of Manzu. So I'm not sure if he's going to have time to recover at this point. Especially when Amy just sumos the winning tile. So it'll be Riichi Sumo Tanyao Sanshoku for a Mangan plus 1500 all. So it'll be 3500, 5500. All right, so that ought to get her back in the game for sure. Unfortunately, that is going to really hurt Claire here, but with one dealership left, she definitely has time to make a comeback. We've seen how swingy things can get with just 1 or 2 hands. All right, we enter the south round on Nick's dealership. Dora is the 9-so. Why don't you run us through the starting hands this time?
Trying to wait until they arrange their hands a little bit so we can get a clearer view. But Claire is looking like she has a bunch of good shapes at the higher side of the Manzu. Picking up a 7-mon has possibilities of 3, 4, 5 shape, or 5, 6, 7 shape, or 7, 8, 9 shape. Amy has kind of a slow hand, but picks up a pair of 4 Manzu. Kevin, once again, looking for a 3-pin with the 1, 2-pin shape. And is 4 shantan, 3 shantan, something.
Yeah, it's fairly high. Well, Nick makes a nice 7-mon draw here for his hand, which looks like it can move towards an open Tanyao if needed. Especially if he gets the chance to chi the 3-so, he'd probably take that and just go for the Tanyao Dora 1 and the dealer repeat. Claire's hand has been making some nice progress while we weren't looking. She is currently 2 away. If she can fill the 4-mon or the 6-mon, she has a perfect Ishanten with good shapes. And Nick is going to make another opportune draw of the Dora accepting Ryanmen in the upper Sozu. And Kevin makes a nice draw in the same area, completes a 7, 8, 9-so. Currently 2 away, with really good shapes in the upper Pinzu for making a pair if he manages to fill in the 3-pin or the 2-pin first.
And Claire, while we weren't looking, is Ishantan.
Yep, she managed to draw that 6-mon and get into perfect Ishanten. There are some shifts to a 5, 6, 7 Sanshoku if you can draw a 7-so. But it looks like 3 of those are already gone. And there's a 9-so draw for Nick, going to fill in the Dora, currently in Ishanten himself. And here you can see what we call Sakigiri. Claire discards the 4-pin after drawing the Hatsu save tile, because at this point in the game, especially with one of the 4-pins already gone, having the extra acceptance from the Shabo shape is not worth the risk. Especially since you want to get the Pinfu anyway. If, however, for example, she could get a Tanyao by calling the 4-pin or whatever the other pair would be in the case of a Tanyao, then she might keep it around because that's a chance to get into Tenpai by calling with Yaku. And Amy, what did she draw? Is that a 2-mon? Could discard the 1-so here to lock in the Tanyao. Potential Tanyao Ipeiko.
Nick drawing a 4-mana upgrade.
And he's going to Riichi, yeah. 4 7-pin wait. So this will be Riichi Pinfu Dora 2 as dealer. Very nice manga on hand. And Kevin is in Ishanten, but doesn't manage to draw into Tenpai. Oh, close. All right, and there Claire's Hatsu came in handy, giving her one more turn to potentially push for Tenpai without having to drop a dangerous tile. Kevin now draws this 9-mon. It looks like death, and regretfully gets rid of that red 5-pin. And Claire has a chance to work around now. She can discard the 3-pin, but that's going to put her in danger later on, because even if she draws the 5-pin, she'll have to drop the 4 or the 7-pin to get into Tenpai. Oh, and now another tough choice with this 4-mon. We might just see... Can she fold, though? Well, she does have the 4-so, and then the Suji 7-so. And then you can hope for more information. Oh, the 4-pin's going to come out. So it'll be Riichi Pinfu Dora 2. No Ura, but that's still a dealer Mongon for 12k. So a spot of bad luck there. If she wanted to push, her hand was forced to discard that no matter what. It was just a matter of time. And Nick's going to go into his first repeat in South 1. Dora is the 8-mon.
And the Monzu looked really scary there for Claire, because nothing out of Nick.
Absolutely. Her only real options were to go with the 1 Genmitsu and then hope for the Suji to pass and then some extra information. And with her hand being in a good shape Ishanten, she just decided to push, and it seemed fine, especially with, I think she had a 5, 6, 7 Sanshoku chance. Just a bit unfortunate there. So, I'll start with Nick's hand just as soon as he's done organizing. Looks like he has access to the Dora 8-mon this round. Potentially 7, 8, 9 Sanshoku shift, he can get a 9, so the hand is actually not that bad of a shape as is, though he might have to relinquish the 8-mon if the 9-mon becomes the pair. Claire's hand over here looking for a Tanyao Dora 2. Could call for that and pick up the Honba. Maybe a little bit of acceleration in going into her dealership. Amy's hand is unfortunately pretty slow here. I don't see a whole lot of value, though she can pick up the Dora and form a Ryanman with that. And then Kevin's hand, much of the same. Really disjointed, probably a folding hand unless he gets some miracle draws.
Amy electing to discard the unconnected 6-0.
Yeah, she has 1, 2, 3, 4. She has 5 shapes, but they're not all very good. So I think some players would maybe opt to get rid of the 9-pin, but then you might lose out on a potential Itsu. So it's difficult to say. And she seems to be going for the Pinzu Honitsu here with her first few discards. All right, Nick is going to make it into 2 Shanten now. And Amy draws the South Round Wind. Not, of course, to neglect Claire's hand, which is now Mongon Ishanten. But there's the Chunpon. Amy moving to 2 Shanten herself. has chances to pull in the 4-pin or the 6-pin, or to chi the 3-pin or 8-pin if it comes out from Claire. And Claire will probably drop that 3-pin eventually, especially if she draws a safe tile first.
And Nomi doesn't know this, but Kevin and Nick both have 3-pins as well.
Oh, and now
Potentially useful later.
yeah,
Good.
and now both of them are cemented in place. So other than Claire's, which is going to come out here because she moves to a better Ishanten, that shape would have been very hard to fill. So Amy takes the chi, looking for the 4-6-pin or the 8-pin to get into Tenpai for Honitsu Yakuhai plus the Honba. And getting this late in the hand, I wouldn't be surprised if Claire just called for Tenpai. And Nick moves into a better Ishanten now, but the 6-9 so is somewhat dead. Question is, does he value that? Yeah, he values that because you're at least guaranteed the pinfu and you can Dama it if you need to. And there's Tenpai for Claire. And now she has a wait choice to wait on the 2-so and 7-mon or the 3-so, and she goes for the 3-so. There are currently two of them left in the wall, sorry. Of course, if Claire can rip one out, she will get a Mangan. For Ricci Pinfu Dora, Ricci Tanya Dora too. And if Amy gets Tenpai, she's liable to toss the 3-so as well. Assuming she draws it, of course. It looks like it's going to be a fold from Nick, though. And there's the 3-so. So with one left on the wall, it's getting harder and harder to believe that Claire's going to find the time to sumo it. And there's Tenpai for Amy. Now she has to choose between the 3-pin or the 4-6-pin. She chooses the 3-pin weight, which we know is less live. So it's 1 versus 1.
If you had Kevin at your table, would you decide for a 3-pin weight? Or
It's hard to say. I just prefer the Shampon because there are visibly more tiles left. The 4-6-pin are liver, and the 2-pin feels a little bit safer, but not by much. Oh, are we going to see the Khan? Amy has the chance to Khan here, but chooses not to, wisely. Already happy with what she has, doesn't want to contribute even more Dora to the pot.
yeah, don't want to con into the player who's in Ricci either. Potentially.
Especially when that player is last place and kind of your point rival. Evan here looking for ways to fold. Nothing super duper safe, so goes with the 4-pin, which we know passed. It's just going to dismantle the hand. Can't quite see what he drew. 9-mon, okay. And another West for Nick. He's seeming to have a pretty easy way to fold here. Oh, Amy could chi that and upgrade to a 6-9-pin weight, but chooses not to. That would also give her a chance for Itsu if she got the 6-pin, which would bring it up to a Mangan. Oh, and there's that 4-pin she would have sumoed at this point. You have to have faith in numbers sometimes. Still, that does make the 3-pin one chance if anyone dares to push it.
Nick just drawing the 3-pin.
Okay, so it's going to be 1 3-so left in the wall. Oh no, there isn't. It's been drawn. Oh no, Nick drew that one a while ago. I'm kind of losing track of things here.
Nick drew the 3-pin earlier. Or a turn ago.
Oh, the Haite Sumo? No. Alright, looks like it's going to be a draw. 2 players Tenpai.
And luckily for Claire, big Hamba and the Hamba remain. as we move into her dealership.
Exactly. She even gains one. She gets the no-tin payment. She can get her stick back with any win here. It's not that bad of a deal. And she starts with a pretty good hand. She has a completed 7-8-9 so, she has a 4-5 so Renman, a completed 6-7-8 pin, a pair of the 8 mon. It's looking like it's going to be a pretty fast reachy. Dora's the 1 pin, and she has one of those too. Amy's hand has a red 5, but a lot of disjointed honors at the moment, so it's going to be a bit of a struggle to get into Tenpai. Kevin, his hand is more well-formed, but it's slow shapes and no value, and it doesn't look like there's any easy way to open it. And Nick's hand is very similar, though there is a slim path towards a Pinfu if he can get some shape upgrades. Meanwhile, Claire is already Ishanten. She's looking for the 3-6 or the 3 pin, and the 3 pin will give her the Pinfu Dora 1. Which, this far behind, I imagine she would just reachy. And you notice she keeps the 5 mon around instead of a safe tile, like the... Well, I guess the Haku isn't a safe tile, but she's going to keep that 5 mon around at least probably until the second row because it can give her shape upgrades. So Nick took the pawn
On the Northwind?
of the north. Yes, I couldn't quite see it. Looking to capture those Honba and just move things along. Obviously, he doesn't want his point rival Kevin to capture the Honba and get even closer. And Kevin's hand has, progressed to Ishanten now for a Richinomi, not that he cares. There's even shifts to a 6-7-8 Sanchogo and a 6-pin draw. But that 3-pin drop is going to feed Nick. And Kevin opts to keep the safe tile now at Ishanten. Nick is in a better Ishanten now that he was before. It's still a headless Ishanten, looking for 2, 3, 4, 5 mon, 7, 8, 9 mon. Quite a wide acceptance for such a for a twice called hand. Normally, the more you call, the more you limit yourself. Oh, and Claire draws into the ideal Tenpai with a 3-pin. It's going to be a Richi Pin Fudora 1 on a 3-6-0 weight, plus the Honba. Looks like there are 2-6-0 in Amy's hand. There's 1 in Nick's hand, and there's 1 in Kevin's hand. That means there's only the 3-0s left, but there's 3 of them. And now this is a really tense moment, because everyone wants those Honba, and no one wants to give the last place player a chance to recover, but you also don't want to deal into them. So Kevin's going to Moashi for now, goes with the 9 mon drop. If he draws anything too dangerous, he can continue with the other 9 mons in hand. And he has this Hatsu, which looks a little bit dangerous at the moment. I believe it is still live. Oh, and he's actually going to continue with the 9 mon drops. Doesn't want to risk the Hatsu. There's the 3-so for Nick. Pausing a bit. And so Nick's options are pretty limited here because of the previous calls. But he trusts that the Manzu is cheap, especially after an 8-mon pair cut from Claire. She could have kept another 8-mon before the Richi. So since she dropped a pair from the upper Manzu, you probably figure she isn't waiting on it. Same idea for Kevin, of course, with the 9-mon. And this 2-pin is going to put a little bit of a wrench in Amy's plans, but she goes straight along with the 5-pin. I guess with the 2-pin, she's scared of dealing into an area with the Dora 1-pin, but it's still a pretty strong push. It's more dangerous than just pushing the single Suji. However, she does have a really, really good hand You're looking for Richie, Tanyao, Pinfu, Dora 1. Oh, and there's the fateful 3-so. Though in this case, it will help Amy's hand. And now that that 5-pin passed, she might have the confidence to drop the 2-pin Suji. No, she's just gonna fold around it. That's surprising because she made a big push the previous turn. I think if you weren't willing to push one more tile there, then it probably would have been better just to fold off the bat. But there's Nick. Once again, trying to figure out what is the least likely tile to lead to my imminent death. Oh, and it's the 3-so, but that's the one. All right, and an Ura to boot will make this a Ricci Pin Fedora 2 for 12k plus 3,000 is 15,000. Big win for Claire. And that's exactly what Amy wanted to prevent, but she wasn't there in time. So yeah, you're never out of it until you're out of it. Looks like Claire's going to go into her second repeat here. It is South 2. She has a chock full of Sozu shapes, good Ryanmen in the Manzu as well, and a pair of Haku. Amy's hand over here. Also some decent shapes in the Pinzu and the Sozu, but still needs a little bit more development in the Manzu to call it a really good hand. There are opportunities to call for a Tanya, though. Kevin, likewise, 3 Ryanmen, wants to get the 8-pin first, and then you're looking for a fairly easy Pinfu. And then Nick's hand is really well developed. Just wants to pawn the Hatsu and take Ishanten. Could even get a 2-3-4 Ipeko in Pinzu if he's lucky. We might even see a 1-mon drop here, because now there's paths to call for an open Tanyao or to go for a Pinfu. Though I think I'd still prefer the speed of the Hatsu over both of those. Especially since my shapes in Sozo and Manzo are kind of mediocre at best. We might see him cut the 2-4-so here. Oh, actually decides to go for the 7 pairs instead. I think cutting 2-4-so is a little bit more flexible for that, but of course the 7-mon is once gone as the Dora indicator, so makes sense if you're gunning for the Chitoi Dora too. And there's Tenpai. Question is, does he Richi or Dama? Just go straight for the Richi. You have a pretty good fighting chance with a 2 or an 8 weight. You don't have to wait around for a 1-9 or an honor. So it's going to be Richi Chitoi Dora 1 on the 2-so Tanki. Of course, we know 2 of those are gone in Amy's hand, but if for some reason the 3-so comes out and the 2-so becomes 1 chance, she might scrap it and deal in. So 1 2-so left in the wall. Oh, the dramatic flourish would have drawn into a Nakasuji trapped 4-mon right afterwards, but that's no guarantee that it comes out. And now a 1-so. Still, you can't look at those weight upgrades and say, damn, I should have waited. You gotta trust your gut and go with it. Because you had a reason for doing it. So Claire here is in a situation where she can push the 8-9 pin and go for a Richi pin for maybe a Dora 1. And she really doesn't have a lot of safety. It's an early Richi, so she just decides to shove forward. Makes sense. No luck for Nick. And now that the 8-pin passed, Claire has a free path into Tenpai if she can manage to draw into it before she gets another dangerous tile. Well, she did expand her Tenpai options to 258 so, 609 so, and 58 mon. So not too shabby. I'm sure there's some joke I can make there with shabby and shabo, but I can't be bothered. You know, Wes, do you notice anything interesting about Amy's discards? I don't know if Wes is muted or if
potential Kiryage Mangan?
Yes, exactly. It's been able to keep together so far. Oh, just as I say that, there it goes. But she is Chitoi Shanten, so doesn't want to drop the 9-mon pair. So this late in the hand, Claire is probably going to call into Tenpai, especially since she would be Furitan on the 258 so wait, even if she drew into Tenpai around the 58 mon. But Amy draws this. What did you draw? The 5 so? Did she draw that?
Yeah, she drew the 5
Okay.
so.
All right, she put it into the hand first, and it's going to go with the 1 chance Suji 3 so. Oh wait, it's not 1 chance, it's just Suji.
Kevin drawing a 3-pin yet again.
There's the first weight backfire for Nick. If he had waited approximately 3 turns from the Ricci and taken a 2-mon Tonki. Oh no, well he has a pair of 2-mon in the hand. We're not playing with American or Kansai Chitoi, so no, that would not have been valid. It's not a backfire. But there's the Chi.
It's open Ricci.
Oh, it's an open Ricci. I thought that was a Chi because she just put it down. Yeah, 5-8 mon open Ricci chasing. It looks like there are doing some quick maths here. I'm not good at math. I think all the 8 mon are live.
There's 2 in Amy's hand.
Oh, I'm live.
No,
There's
one in
one
Amy's
in her
hand.
hand. Oh, he Patsumo. Not bad odds on that. So Ricci Patsumo Pinfudora. Oh, open Ricci Patsumo Pinfudora. That's a dealer Hanemon for 6,000 plus 1,500 all, so 7,500 all. Huge upset. So, we started off this game and it looked like Claire was gonna go negative, and for a while she was really, really far down there, but all of a sudden, with the big Homba and a bit of her own hand building magic, she's back above 30k. And with another really, really good hand, looking at potential Itsu in Sozu, along with 2 Dora, a 5-6 shape, I think she's already 2 Shanten.
And potential Pinfu and Pinsu.
Yeah, that's true. If she can draw the 2 so first, then she's guaranteed a Pinfu on any of her tiles into Tenpai. Amy's hand, not that bad either. Already has a completed sequence and the backbones of the rest of her hand. Looks like Kevin has a 789 so completed, potentially a shift to a 789 Sanchiko if you can draw 9 mon, as well as 1 red 5. And then Nick's hand is looking towards a classic Pinfu, already 2 Shanten for that, just needs to find a pair, and then probably wants the 3 mon first. And just to kind of update us on the score situation here, Amy and Nick have dropped into 3rd and 4th places respectively, though they're only separated by 500 points, and there are 4 home on the table, meaning there's 6k up for grabs. Meanwhile, we have Kevin at 32k and Claire at 33.5, but because these home are there, it's a much, much closer game than it seems, even among the bottom 2 players. Just one decent hand can make another upset. So now I guess Amy will probably get rid of the 9-mon here and aim for a Tanyao. Like at a glance, you're saying, oh no, I don't want to break my 7, 8, 9, but you have the 6, 7, 8 already, so it's really just getting rid of one of the end caps. But she's going to opt to drop a pair for now. Not interested in the cheat toy route. Oh, Claire is in Ishanten. Now has a bit of a difficult choice. Or well, she was in Ishanten. It was a good Ishanten for 1-4 on her 4-7 pin, but she can greed for an Itsu now if she wants, which allows her to call into Tenpai as well. She's actually going to go for the headless Ishanten, which is the widest option there. She just has to pair up pretty much the majority of the Sozu or her 5-6 pin to be into Tenpai. And even if she draws the 4-7 pin first, she gets a 3-sided weight in the Sozu. Ah, and now our red 5-mon is going to update things for her, and she's going to get rid of the 2-mon. I'm sorry, I don't mean update, I mean upgrade. You know, with this many Honba in the middle, just going for efficiency seems like a fine play. And Nick is in Ishanten, or he was, but once again, now this is an upgrade to that, because he can drop the 2-mon and be Tenpai on a potential pinfu if he draws the 5 so first. But he's going to drop out of Ishanten. A little bit of an interesting move there.
Probably not favoring the middleweight of the 5 so.
Maybe, but then what are you favoring with this 2-mon? Well, apparently another 1-mon draw right afterwards. Otherwise, you're kind of giving it up without anything to replace it. But the hand is in pretty good shape now. You would have been Tenpai, though, if you had kept it. And Amy draws into a nice 5 so over here.
Dessert before you have dinner.
And now has to decide between whether she wants to cut the 3 so or the 9-mon. So she does end up cutting the 9-mon after all. Because she's Ishanten on the 3 or the 5-8-mon for potential as high as a Richi Tanyao Pinfu Ipeiko with 6,000 points. And she'll happily call the 3-mon as well. And probably even the 5-8-mon.
Yeah, with all the hump on the table, definitely would do that too.
Yeah, she's choosing not to cut this 3 so though, wants the Dora acceptance of the 1 so, but there's 2 of them out already, and I think it's also important to remember that, you know, there's 4 Honba on the table, but there are 4 Honba on the table, so dealing into someone is not pretty. All right. She has made an upgrade there, though, to a Sanmenchan in the Sozu, looking for a 2-5-8 so or 5-8-mon into Tenpai, so guarantees the Pinfu. Meanwhile, Claire, really unlucky streak here. There are so many tells that put her into Tenpai, like a bajillion of them, but she hasn't been able to get there. And Amy draws into her Takame. Will she reach her Dama here? Going with her previous decision, she's probably going to call Richi here. I guess it might even be a question of whether she open Richi's or not. Okay, she's going to open Richi on the 2-5-8 so. Okay, and it looks like her low finger tapping, she probably has declared it verbally, which did come out before on an 8 so weight that she was on. That being said, it does give the other players a little bit of wiggle room here. What is Kevin's going to chase on the 3-6 so? He was Dama before that. Sorry for missing that, folks. So it's 3-6 so versus 2-5-8 so, and Claire's in a kind of weird place now because there are probably going to be 3 Richis on the table now. Nick is going to open Reach on the 6-9 pin. This is really turning into a bit of a disaster for Claire's dealership, but she's going to call into Tenpai on the 3-6-9 so. Now she can't win at the moment, but she can swap the 9 so out for any safe tile, and she knows what everyone is waiting for. So she doesn't have to worry about dealing in. And now 9 so. Just making sure that it doesn't deal in first. This is a very unusual situation to see 3 open reaches. So it's 4-pin Tonki versus 2-5-8-so versus 3-6-0 versus 6-9-pin, but the 3-so is going to be summoned first by Kevin. Really important hand to win here with 4 Honba. So it'll be open reach sumo pin Fudora 1. That'll be a Mangan plus 2,000 each. So 4,000, 6,000. Unless I missed something, but that seems about right. Yep.
That skyrockets Kevin way into the lead.
Absolutely. The big Honba adds an extra 4K swing. Oh, so how much does it add? So it's 6,000 plus the 2,000 he gets from Claire. So it's an extra 8K swing between his score and Claire's, in addition to the Oyakabari for the Mangan Sumo. So yes, it's a huge, huge upset there. And now the home are cleared. It is Amy's dealership in South 3. She starts with a very, very solid hand. If she can fill in the 3 Mon, then she'll have very good shapes to Tenpai, plus 2 Dora. Kevin's hand is going to start with 3 pairs and a completed Manzu shape. Nick is going to get an opportune fill of the 7 Mon in his first draw, and he has a Haku pair to pawn if he wants to. It'll be interesting to see whether Nick is going to take an approach just to get into 3rd place here, or if he's going to try and get into 2nd. But with his current hand, it doesn't look like there's a ton of room for value. That being said, he's picked up a 2nd south, so he's probably just going to start calling.
There is quite a bit of daylight. Well, not quite a bit, but somewhat of enough daylight between Claire and the 3rd and 4th place players. So Claire might try to speed things up, depending on if she would be satisfied with a 2nd place or not.
Yep, and Amy drew into a 3rd Dora. She's Ishan 10 now for a Richi Dora 3. And she draws the 4 Mon. Now she can chi or pawn her way into a Tenpai for Tanyao. Tanyao Dora 3, not just Tanyao. Quite a bit more significant than that. So it's going to be a bit of a calling race between Nick and Amy that could decide Nick's fate, because it's going to be a huge, huge hand from Amy if she can win this. And if she wins this, then she's approaching Claire. So Nick decides not to chi that 5-pin over there. He wants to keep it closed for now. After all, he does not know that Amy does have Dora 4. With that draw, she is Tenpai. I think you just Dama this. It's a bad weight. And you have all the necessary value. Yeah, she's going to take the Dama. At the very least, look for the weight upgrade.
Claire with a potential Ipeko and 456 Pinzu. Which
looks like there are 2 3 Mons left in the wall. Just a quick update there. But yes, a 456 pin Ipeko plus she's Ishan 10 for I'll just go through it quickly. Menton pin Ipeko Dora 1. If she can draw the 4-pin, that would be ideal. For now, nothing.
Probably Tanya?
Yeah, you can go for Tanya also. Yeah, that's Men refers to concealed Richie Tan for Tanya, Pin for Pinfu, and then Ipeko Dora 1 we know. No, Amy's actually going to take the upgrade. Well, I don't know. It's the same number of tiles, so not strictly an upgrade, but if she's sumo, she gets San Uncle also. I do hope, though, that if she draws the 2-so or the 4-so, she does not con the 3-so and put herself back into Ishanten chasing an imaginary Suanko, but we'll see. As for the 4 Mons, it looks like there's none of those left, and there's 1 7-pin left. So yeah, this was definitely a move to greed for the Ipeco. Because I missed it before, but this tile is 1 tile worse than the 3-mon hanchan. But Kevin has a potential Tanya after this 8-pin draw if he can dump the 1-pin afterwards. And of course, for that, he would need to get the 6-mon.
Unfortunately for Nick, none of those Yakuhai have come out yet. We've just been kind of waiting for Nick to upgrade that hand a little bit.
I kind of missed this entirely until the 7-mon draw, but Amy does have a Nakusuji trap on the 4-mon, which might have also been a motivation for taking this weight over the hanchan. Oh, there's the 3-mon. And of course, Claire is Tenpai now on 4-7-pin. She definitely wants to get Amy's dealership over with ASAP. So it looks like it's impossible for Claire to deal in. Ooh, red 5-mon draw for Nick. At 4 pairs now. Still in a bit of an awkward place, though. Still 2 Shanten.
Yeah, those Haku and Souths don't want to come out.
And now 5 pairs is Ishanten for Chitoi, besides to get rid of the South, which was once cut. And now this Haku is live, but I think Claire will likely push it here. It seems unlikely that the dealer would be Dama for that long on just a Haku weight, unless it was something like Chitoi. So Nick will pawn it. Amy finds the 5-mon a little bit too late. And there's another pawn for Nick into Tenpai. Deciding between the 3-6 pin and the 2-5 pin. Takes the 3-6 pin and it deals in because that 4 pin has to be cut. So Claire is going to Kawashite here for a cheap 2k. That's unfortunate because Amy drew into such a nice hand. Quite an unusual extended shape 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, 4. It must have been terrifying for everyone, of course, not to see any of the original Dora. But we go into South 4, all last. Kevin is the dealer, Dora is the South. And just as soon as I get a chance to go over these scores, just need some of the players to move their hands out of the way. It looks like Nick is currently in last with 10,000. In second place is Amy with 12,500, so only a 2,500 gap between her and Nick. Then in third, we have Claire with 29.5, just below starting. And of course, Kevin, after that huge win earlier in the round, is at 48,000.
With the Dora being South, and Kevin having... Oh, Kevin has 4 West, or 3 West. Sorry. I saw the first South and I was like, that could be a little bit crazy.
All right. Nick is already Ishanten, and he has the potential value he needs. A really ideal draw for him would be the 5-mon, then he gets a 3-sided weight with the 3-4-6-mon. And he can attach anything to the 4-mon or the 4-pin to get into Tenpai. Claire, on the other hand, has an extended Ipeco shape in the lower Pinzu and a pair of the 5-so, but a little bit slow at the moment. We see Amy with a potential Itsu and Manzu and a nice kind of skipping 3-3-5-7-7 pin shape that can make a pair in a sequence really easily. And there's Tenpai for Nick, but he's going to wait around for upgrades. If he can draw the 3-6-mon, he can take a Dama Pin Fudora 1. Oh, and he misses the 4-mon. However, the Mahjong is not entirely a game of who can get to Tenpai first. You want to have a Tenpai that is easy to win with, and Nick doesn't think that the Shampon is easy to win with. It was only turn 3 or 4 when he entered Tenpai, so with the 7-so as the Anko, once again, either the 3-6 Mon draws will put him into Tenpai with a potential Pinfu Dora 1 Ipeiko, or if he just draws the 4-5 Mon himself, he'll just Sumo, which will be enough. I think it will be enough. 2,500, you win 2,000 and you get 500. Oh, he passes up the Sumo. Sumo Dora 1 would be 500, 1,000, which is 2,000, plus you're getting 500 from your point rival, so you would tie in that case. Just looking if there's any extra Fu involved. 8, 9, 10. No, he would be 2 Fu short of making a Gyakuten with that, but he would split the Uma for the tie. So actually decides to pass the Sumo there, aiming for more, and immediately the next turn gets rewarded, draws the 3-mon, looking for a Richi Pinfu Dora 1, Takame Ipeiko on the 3-mon. And this is why it's important to be patient. Why settle for a tie when you can go for the money? And now Amy's in a really awkward spot because she's not far away from Nick. So if she deals in, she's in a lot of trouble. If she lets him Sumo, though, she's in a lot of trouble. And given the gap, well, there's not a huge worry about the Tenpai payments making a difference, but if everyone is no 10 except for Nick, then she will also be eclipsed.
I've been thinking about keeping the potential Dora pair.
It looks like he's going to fold out here, which makes sense given that he has first place. As for the 3-6 mon, it looks like Claire doesn't have any of them. Amy has 2 of them.
Oh, Claire just picked up one of them.
Oh, and Kevin has 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I think there's 5. So there should be 3 left in the wall. I'm probably miscounting somewhere. I'm trying to switch between these very fast. But yeah, we're getting into a danger zone now. Because Amy is nearing the 3rd row, but she hasn't gotten a Tenpai yet. And none of the other players are trying to fight this. So we could get into that Tenpai situation I was talking about.
Which I think would be a bit unfortunate for Amy. I think she's played
Yeah, I
quite
don't
well so
think
far.
yeah, I don't think she can afford to fold here. If she decides to fold this out, then I think it's a mistake. But so far she hasn't had to fold entirely. But she's also passing out on efficiency, like that 6-so now. She can't accept the 5-so into Tenpai because she doesn't want to cut the Dora south, which makes sense. It's better to minimize the damage if it means dealing in with the Dora, but... Oh, there's a 3-so. Dramatic pause. Only a few draws left, though. Oh, and Amy's gonna really limit her paths to Tenpai with this cut. If she assumes that Kevin is going for Tenpai, then she's okay, but if Kevin is no 10, then she's in a lot of trouble. There's only 2 draws left for her, too. She would need 2 perfect draws or the chance to pawn twice. And even then, she'd have to cut the Dora, and now I don't think there is any way for her to get into Tenpai before the end. I might have gotten the score differences wrong, though. There's always a chance that one of the sticks was upset and not in its right pocket or something, or I did the math incorrectly, so we will see. But 3 draws left. And the high-tay draw does go to Nick. It'd be nice to get a high-tay sumo here. But no. Still, that should be enough.
Looks like it's just enough.
Yep. Yeah, and that's why Amy had to fight there, no matter what. But I think even if she did make what we would classify as dangerous cuts, I don't think she would have gotten into Tenpai unless something happened to encourage the other players to give her tiles to cheer upon. And now it looks like Nick is just explaining why he passed the 5-mon sumo over there, because it would have been a tie. Yeah, very exciting finish there. Fine technical play from Nick, who read the score situation completely, took the Ricci knowing that if everyone was no 10, he would still come in third place, and of course, aiming for the Mangan, which I believe on a direct hit of Claire would have been enough. Actually, I think if he sumoed, it would have been enough as well to go into second place. So yeah, nice close Ricci there. Oh no, Claire put out some point sticks, but either way, good Ricci. Unfortunate for Amy there because, yeah, once again, there was solid play from everyone at this table. We saw a lot of exciting swings, and we'll be back with you for hanchan 2 shortly. So until then, we're going to take a very short break, probably around 5-ish minutes, and we'll come back to you after that.
Hello and welcome back to Nomi League Session 8. How'd you feel about the previous hanchan, Eric?
I mean, the previous hanchan is full of ups and downs for every single player at the table. Claire started off by going close to negatives, then rose all the way back up. Then Kevin took the reins after the 4-home win, and then Nick and Amy were tied neck and neck until all last, in which case they were only 2,500 points apart, and Nick correctly passed a sumo there that would have tied him with Amy but not given him third place, and went on to Ricci, at which point there were 3 players, no 10, and he ended up overtaking Amy. So yeah, really exciting game there. We saw a lot of fine technical play from all the players, and I'm hoping to see more of that in this second hanchan. It looks like we have Nick in the east seat for the Opie Dopes, Claire in the south for the Peregrine FalKANs, Kevin as west for the team Yakumen, and Amy as north for the Destroyers.
And it looks like the players are ready to start.
Dora is the 6 pin. It looks like there's already a 7-8-9 sequence completed in Manzu for Nick, as well as a 7-8 pin. I can't quite see what's on the left side of his hand for now, but he checks out a 2-so. Claire starts with a pair of the Hatsu, a pair of the 8-so, an incomplete shape in the 4-6 pin, and also a pair of the 4-mon. Kevin has one of those Hatsu that Claire's wants, but also a lot of pairs. Looks like his hand will be very fast.
Has the other pair of the 4-mon that Claire potentially wants.
Yes. And then Amy's hand looks like it can go for a concealed pinfu, maybe a Ricci pinfu Dora 2 if she's lucky, or even Dora 3 if she pairs up the 6 pin. So I think now that the players have gotten into the groove, we're seeing a little bit more confident play. The scores are reset. There's not 500 home on the table, so, things are back to the normal standings, and everyone's going to just be aiming for a mangan value, and if they can. And a nice draw for Kevin over there puts him into Chi Toi Ishanten. There's even some ways that he can shift over into a Ryan Peiko. Though, of course, if you get the 6 pin, you're not thinking about that. It looks like Claire makes a pair of the south as well. This could be what some players call a Toitsuba or a pair heavy round. And Amy over here makes a nice draw of the 6-mon, pushing her closer to that aforementioned well, I guess it's not guaranteed to be pinfu here, but it could be a pinfu. You could even find shifts to a 5-6-7 Sanchoku, which could use all 3 Dora in the hand. And Nick is in 2 Shanten for a pinfu of his own.
Thinking about potentially keeping this 4-pin for the 4-5-6 shape.
Yeah, you can still shift back towards a normal hand because all the pairs outside of the 7-so are directly connected to pairs next to them, which is great for sequence-based hands. Oh, and Amy draws the 8, so it's a little bit sad because she's going to have to cut a Dora no matter what. Oh, but she defers and cuts a shape instead of taking Ishanten. Sees the 2-pin out and decides to cut the 3-pin first because the 1-pin is Genbu to 2 players. At the same time, that usually means that the 2-pin is a little bit liver in the wall, so it's going to be a shame if she misdraws here. But, this early on, I think it's a good idea to not be throwing the Dora out in the middle of row 2, and, she's obviously being ambitious and looking for more value. And there's the pawn for Claire. Picks up the Hatsu, can also pawn her wind the south if that comes out. Looks like that is still live. And Kevin is now Ryan Peiko Ishanten. A lot of tiles will put him into Tenpai here. 3-6-0, 3-6-mon, and 6-pin. Of course, if he gets 6-pin, then he's going to have a Chi Toi Tanya Dora 2.
And Claire just drew into Tenpai with that 5-pin.
And this is Tenpai for Kevin with Ryan Peiko on the 3-mon. If he gets the 6-mon, it's Tanyao Pinfu Ipeiko. But I think he's just going to Ricci here. You want to go for a Mangan. And if you're going to toss the Dora, you may as well. if you Dora Tonki here, it's probably too much of a missed opportunity. Oh no, I don't know if he just doesn't see the Ranpeiko or if he's too afraid to toss a 6-pin, but you're really giving up a lot like that. You give up value and you give up a good weight. That being said, there's going to be a Riichi from Amy. That's going to prompt a Chi from Nick. Nick is now on Tenpai on 5-8 so. Amy's on Tenpai on 5-8 pin. Claire's Tenpai on 8 so south. And Kevin is Tenpai on just the 6 pin, but now he has to deal with this Riichi. However, the Riichi player discarded the red 5 so, and in most cases, if you're on a 3-6 so weight, you would discard the normal 5 so instead. So this 3 so isn't as dangerous as it normally would be, especially since Amy discarded the 1-2 so early. So I think Kevin should just, trust the one chance. Trust the fact that the red 5 so was discarded from the Riichi, and jam this forward. All right, he decides to chase. So, ooh, the Suji comes out. A little bit scary. And now this 3-mon is going to get shoved too. No one willing to back down yet. But now Claire gets an 8-mon. 8-mon would not deal into anyone, but it's not exactly a safe tile either. There's Amy's 8 pin. Forms an Anko in Nick's hand, but will he have the foresight to toss the 6-7 so instead? Goes with the 8 pin. Just wants to protect the dealership with a fast hand. It makes sense. So he's going to deal into the Riichi pin food Dora 1. Sorry, Dora 2. That'll be a Mangan for 8k. Yeah, it's unfortunate because you don't see Ranpeiko very often, but in this case, Kevin chose not to take it out of fear of tossing the Dora, I guess.
Yeah, it's a hard decision. Oh, and the door is the same once again.
There we go. And this time, Claire has the red 5 pin already attached to a 4 pin that can accept the Dora 6 pin as well. It looks like it could be a rather expensive hand, though it is somewhat disjointed at the moment. It doesn't look like there's a super clear Yaku yet. Kevin also has a sequence in the hand that can accept, that does accept the red 5 so that he has, and a bunch of pairs, so also pretty disjointed. Amy's hand looks like it's going to be a Kokushi attempt. I can't quite count how many she has. Or a Sozu Honitsu. There's options here. She has 9 exactly with no repeats. Of course, we do not play with abortive draws, so she did not have the option to abort that hand. And Nick's hand looks just about as disjointed as the rest. And he doesn't have any of the Dora yet. So it's going to be a slower round. That might be what Amy needs to recover with this hand and potentially go for a Yakumen or the Honitsu.
With Amy's hand from the beginning, do you prefer going for a potential Kokushi, or would you prefer kind of cutting some of the honor tiles and maybe seeing if Nagashi's on the table and seeing how you draw potentially to be into a more standard hand?
It usually depends on the point situation, but the majority of the time, if the points are relatively flat, and I think that my hand is really, really cruddy and slow, if I end up cutting the honors first, I do have a higher acceptance, but at least with the hand as it was when she started, it doesn't look like it's going to have a lot of value, and I'm pushing from really far away. So most of the time, I'll take an approach where I keep the honors, and I cut inefficiently to keep safety around, and high roll for value. However, that might change if you're the dealer and you're in desperate need of a repeat, in which case you'd play more aggressively, potentially if you're behind, for example, and you don't think that it's realistic to go for one of those larger hands. Well, it looks like not a whole lot of movement in Claire's hand yet. Kevin did just pick up an Anko of the 4-pin, so he steps into 2 Shanten. And Nick's hand is currently an E-Shanten now after that 7-pin draw. If he can get the 3 so, then he'll be in shape for a Riichi Pin Fudora 1 on the 6-9 so weight. Looks like there's currently 2 3-sos left in the wall. Oh, sorry. Make that 1. I think he'll probably, yeah, he's going to shave off that group and look for upgrades around the 5, 6, 6, 7 pin Nobiton, which can accept the 4, 7, 5, 8 pin to upgrade, at the very least into a guaranteed Tanyao. And of course, since the 6 pin is Dora, you want to keep it around anyways.
Drawing the 8-mon there means potentially getting rid of the Dora bulge, but I don't see that happening.
No, and he decides to keep the 8-mon there, maybe looking for a 6, 7, 8 Sanshoku. Which I guess if you draw an 8 pin first and you drop the 2 mana, the 2-so pair is a possibility. Oh, but now you gotta swap back. Yeah. A little bit of a funny
little,
exchange.
yeah.
Yeah. But perfectly logical. And Claire does make the first good fill in a while here with that 6-so draw. You know, as dealer, she wants to keep pushing forward a little bit here, so she drops a weaker hanchan. Now, ooh, a little bit of a backfire there for Nick, but having already discarded the 7-mon way earlier in the hand, it made sense to just keep that area slim. And now this 6-so draw for Kevin is going to put him in Ishanten. Probably just going to cut the 5 pin here. You already have 2 pairs, so that 5 pin is not a super useful shape, but it seems like he's keeping it around because he wants to be able to accept Dora. I think that is going to hurt his overall Tenpai chances, but it's also nice to not have to toss the Dora this late. Amy has managed to get into 2 Shanten for a Menhon Chitoi. It's a concealed 7 pairs, half flush. But it's pretty slim pickings. And Claire's going to call into Ishanten. She's going for a K10 hand. That's a hand that's just there to take Tenpai and preserve her dealership. And it looks like Nick is going to call the 8 pin and move towards a Ishanten for Tanyao Dora 3. Of course, he can't accept the 9-so to get Tanyao, but it would at the very least put him into Tenpai, and he's probably looking to just pull in the 8-so or the 2-so, the 2-mon. Oh, there's Tenpai. So, 4-7 pin, Tanyao Dora 3, big hand. And with only 1 Dora showing, no one knows.
Claire dropped herself out of Tenpai with the 9-mon cuts. Do you have an inkling as to why?
Probably just apprehension of not seeing that much Dora. You know, Amy's hand is really scary without any of the Sozu present. It's pretty clear that she's going for some kind of a flush in Sozu. And if she's Tenpai now, that 7-so is not a good tile to drop against either her or the player who opened and might have lots of Dora. I mean, Amy is currently Ishanten. She's looking for the 8-9-so opportune, but there's very few turns left. She pawns here, which gives her a callable path to Tenpai. Oh, actually, she is Tenpai on the 7-so. Nick shoves forward, of course. He has the value to justify it. Claire's hand can't be won, so it doesn't really make as much sense for her to push here. But she does it anyway. The 2-so is at the very least safe against Nick, and she wants to preserve the dealership. Perhaps she's dubious about the legitimacy of Amy's Tenpai. And we come in down to the last 3 draws here. It looks like Amy will have the Haite, unless there's any calls to shift that. The problem is even if Kevin cheese one of the tiles that Claire discards, it will just shift to another player that could potentially be in Tenpai, so I imagine we won't see any calls here. They're really thinking hard about this. And goes with the 4-mon.
We did see her potentially touching the 7-so there. It was a bit scary for her for a second.
Yeah, definitely
Unbeknownst
quite
to her.
scary. At this point, though, you know, it's impossible for her to get Tenpai. She can't even call for Tenpai, so yeah, she made the right choice and played it safe. Kevin draws this 7 pin. And now he's trying to weigh the danger. It's an area around the Dora. He's still Ishanten. I don't think he should take any risky pushes because he can't get to Tenpai, and he doesn't. And neither does Amy. Amy discards some kind of Monzu at the end. Looks like an 8-mon, and 2 players are Tenpai. So Nick and Amy will each receive 1,500 from Claire and Kevin. Just as a reminder, yes, we will be adding a Homba here, and you see Kevin putting that on the table now. The door is the 7-pin. It is Kevin's dealership in East 3. Looks like he has a pair of those to start. It looks like a very, very powerful hand that can easily shift towards Tanya with some... Oh, maybe not super easily with the 8-9 mon, but, you know, there's opportunities for it. You want to be able to open for Dora 3. Amy's hand looks to have a Yuanmen in the Sozu, one in the Pinzu, one in the Monzu. It's an overall decently balanced hand, but lacks value and speed. And then as soon as we're back to it, Nick's hand starts with an Anko of the 4, so acceptance for the Dora 7-pin twice, and it looks like he can go for a fast Tanya there for sure. Just going to slough off some of the honors for now. And a nice 6-0 draw for Claire there is going to complete her hanchan. That'll put her in 2 shanten. If she draws something like the 1 pin and then the 8-mon, she'll have a Richi Pinfu Dora 1. Sorry, Dora 2. Now, Amy has a difficult choice to make because she has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks. And rather than augment the 8-9 pin block, which would be a kind of a more orthodox play, she decides to cut the 9 pin because she's intent on keeping the 7 pin acceptance no matter what. Now, this can backfire in some cases, such as a 6-mon draw, because then your pair disappears into thin air, but it's still early enough that it probably shouldn't backfire that badly. It is also a matter of not wanting to keep dangerous tiles around the Dora going into row 2. Speaking of Dora, Amy's going to pick up a red 5 pin. And Kevin's hand has made some improvements towards that Tanyao, but it's still far away, still 3 shanten.
Just a little bit slow.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to beat out Nick's hand here, especially since Nick can call towards Tenpai easily. But the 6-pin draw will put Kevin a step closer. He just has to be careful about what block he drops here. Yeah, he's going to get rid of the 9-8 mon. That gives him the best chance for a Tanyao. And Amy's going to make a nice shape here too. Still not willing to get rid of that 8-9 pin just yet. Wants that door acceptance, and so starts to shave off from the Monzu shape. And Kevin makes a nice shape upgrade around the 4, so... As does Amy, now can accept the 147 so. So I imagine at this point we'll probably see the 8-9 pin drop or the 8 mon. But given how late it is, yeah, it seems like she's prioritizing speed and good shapes. And Nick is in Ishanten now. For Tanya Dora, 1 hand. Oh my goodness, there's a 3rd Dora for Kevin. And he's going to lock in the Tanyao. I think this is honestly a bit of a mistake, though. I think you have to toss the 8-so here, because if you draw the 2-mon, you want to be able to reach on a double-sided weight for Richi Dora 3. But he's being ambitious. He's aiming for the Tanyao Dora 3. It's not like you can't get Tanyao if you cut the 8-so anyway. And the 7-so draw doesn't do anything for you, really. So it's going to be Nick's 4-7 pin Tenpai. versus Kevin's Ishanten. He draws the 7-so, and now he's probably going to say, oh, it doesn't put me into Tenpai. It does put you into headless Ishanten, though, if you cut the 6-so, which is what you probably should do, given that you've come this far. Oh, no, that's going to put you further from Tenpai, Kevin. Don't do it. Okay, that's an acceptable middle ground. You're still Ishanten. And we see Amy chooses not to call here. She doesn't want to get involved in the fight this late. Or perhaps she's still gunning for a closed hand. Ooh, a little bit of movement from Kevin there when the 4-mon comes out. He does want the 4-mon, he's just not ready for it yet. And there's the backfire on the 1-mon. So if he declares Ricci here, we'll see if he would have summoed the 2-5-so. Not that it matters, that's all hindsight.
Amy
Looks like
drawing
Amy,
the 6-mon.
yeah, nice move into Ishanten. Now, if she thinks she can pass the 4-pin, then she can take Tenpai, but that 4-pin would deal into Nick. And Claire is going to call Ricci. It is a Ricci Tanyao Dora 3 hand, looking for the 6-mon. Very ambitious, but of course this late, at the very least, you can try and scare someone off. Oh, sorry, it's not Tanyao. That's entirely my mistake. It's a Ricci Dora 3. But still, a large hand.
Kevin not willing to cut the 3-pin he just drew, electing to cut the 3-so instead.
Right, a little unfortunate because you're going to have a really hard time getting to Tenpai without tossing one of those tiles. You would have been Tenpai here. Or actually, you would have won here if Claire had chased you earlier. If you had kept the original 1-mon. So, okay, he's going to fight here. He's probably going to toss... Oh, he's going to toss the 3-pin anyway. All right, so a little indecisive, but realizes his mistake, maybe. Could have also cut the half Suji 6-so. And then you have acceptance for 4-7-pin. No, that's not too much better, I don't think. Okay, there's Tenpai. And now probably should cut the 6-so. Indeed does on 8-so Tonki. West is drawn by Nick. Comes out. Now 1-mon draw from Kevin. Pushes it forward. And we're down to our last 2 draws. It's looking like it's probably going to end neutrally here. Unless Claire... No, it doesn't manage to get it. A lot of the 6-mons were just dead. Yeah, so Kevin takes a little bit of an unusual path to Tenpai there, but makes it in the end. And Kevin, Claire, and Nick will each receive 1k from Amy.
And don't forget, folks, big Homba as we go into East 3 repeat 2.
Yep, that would be correct. East 3 repeat 2 draws the 5-pin. There are 2 Homba on the table, and Kevin is still the dealer. It doesn't look like he started with the nicest hand this time. Bunch of disjointed honors, kind of cruddy shapes. Not a whole lot of value present. Amy starts with a red 5 and a completed Metsu in the 1-2-3-mon, as well as a pair of the north. Not bad, but still needs a lot of blocks to fill. Nick's hand, though, as soon as we come around to it, you'll see is almost complete. He already has 3 complete sequences. He has a lot of good floating middle tiles, and he has 3 Dora. That's the most important thing about this hand. As is, he's probably just going to cut the west and the... Oh, 3-mon first. Interesting. I think that was definitely a bit of a larger error. Just because when you have 3 Dora, you should be playing aggressively towards efficiency, and you want to attach something to either the 3-mon or the 7-so to form your last group. So you're cutting some of your options short. You're cutting short the ability to go for a 1-2-3 Ipeko, which would allow you to take a Damamon gun. But there is some overlap with the lower mons, so it's not bad, and you have the safety of the Haku now. Still a little bit premature on turn 2, I think. Especially if you decide to keep that 9-mon there, maybe realizing that he needs that extra group after all. So Claire's going to make a nice fill with this 5-mon over here. That puts her in 3 Shanten.
Kevin
And
making
Kevin-
good fill with the 2-pin there.
Yep, and he has the pair of East now. So double tone plus maybe a Dora now that he's drawn this 4-pin. Amy's going to make a 3rd pair. Oh, it looks like Nick has a bit of a handshake right there, has drawn into Ishanten. You can have a really nasty weight on the west or the east Tonkies. Probably on the west Tonki, given that it's still the east round wind.
Kevin's gonna have a lot of trouble finding that 5-pin to complete his 4, 5, 6 shape. Unbeknownst to him.
Absolutely. It's yeah, very probably. Oh, unfortunately, I missed Tempai for Nick there, but I think dropping the 2-pin was entirely the right choice. Just the weight quality of the east and the west are so much better. Oh, looks like Kevin's going to give up the acceptance of the Dora entirely, though he can still slide over to it on a 5-pin draw. So that might save his hand a little bit. 2-mon for Nick, not any use. Let's see, Claire seems to have made another Monzu draw. She has a very complex shape, but she is Ishanten on a 5-8-mon and a 7-so. And now it's on 5-7-so as well. She can get a Pinfui Peiko out of this if she draws that Sozurian can fill first. Evan is in Ishanten, and he can switch it up here if he wants. Decides to, wants to be able to pawn the east into Tempai. Looks like Amy got into Ishanten well, looking for the 4-mon, 6-mon, or the 7-pin for a Richi Dora 2. Claire thinking long and hard about this shape. I don't think the 4-mon is giving you anything extra. 5, 6, 7, 6, 7, 8.
I guess potentially Tempai. Or not Tempai, Tanya, if you got the 1-mon.
Yeah. Now looking for the 4-7-mon instead. Wait. No, she passed Tempai. Wait, did she? Oh my god, this is making my brain hurt a little. 4, 5, 6, 6, 7, 8, 6, 5, 6, 7, 6, 7, 8, 6. I don't know what happened, but something happened. And she's back in Ishanten for sure now. Not, of course, to ignore Nick's hand, which is in a better Ishanten after drawing that Ryanmen for 6-9, so. He chooses not to keep the 3-pin here. The 3-pin does give you acceptance for the 3 and the 4-pin into Tempai for a Dama Pinfudora 3. But there are a few of them out on the board, and one of them is the Dora Indicator. Probably doesn't want to drop the double east yet either.
Is this Tempai for Claire? She drew the 4-mon.
Yes, it's Tempai on the... God, I should know this. It's just the 5-8-mon? No, it's the... Give me a second.
It is a complex shape, so...
It's definitely the 6-9-mon. I think it's the 3-6-9-5-mon. Plus the 8-mon. It's a lot of tiles, it seems like. And there's the Tempai On the 6-9, so for Nick, who declares Ricci for Ricci Dora 3, gives Kevin the pawn into Tempai. So Kevin's looking for that 5-pin, but the 5-pin is completely dead. Amy has the double Dora. All right, no sign of a Manzu yet. 7-pin, a tough sell, given that it's around the door and you don't see any of them.
You could potentially go for the long Suji with Nick having discarded the 1 pin earlier. It is a little bit scary though.
Long Suji is also not a thing, but it is a favorite joke of ours, though. She decides to cut down to the 7-pin Tonki instead.
Which may favor her because Kevin just drew a 7-pin.
Oh, but he's going to push the 4-pin instead for the 5-8-pin Tempai, valuing the dealership a lot. And Amy's going to Chi into Tempai on the 6-mon. Of course, she cannot win this hand unless she gets the Haite. Sorry, the Hote. And now Claire's going to push that 7-pin out and wait on the 3-6-0.
Which means she's in Freezan, having discarded the 3-so earlier.
Yes. Oh, that one was really dramatic. Oh, it was the last draw. Oh, there's Sumo. Yeah, nice. Yeah, so that saved Claire from dealing into the 6-9 so Mongon. Oh, yeah, he shows. They're probably talking about how Claire was scared about the 6-0 and took her a while to recognize the Furitan Sumo was valid, of course. Yeah, that's fun. So with 2 Honba, that'll be a Tanyao Tsumo. So normally it'd be 500, 1,000, but because of the Honba, it's going to be 1,500, 2,000. And we move into East 4. Bit of a longer start to our East round here. Oh, it's Amy's dealership. Dora is the 8-mon. And there are no Honba on the table. Amy's going to start with the double East pair, as well as some nice shapes in the Sozu, but the rest of the hand is a little bit slow. Still, with the double toned pair pawn, you can accept the Dora 8-mon, the 8-pin, you can Chi. I don't know what Manzu she just drew. It's up against the edge. Looks like a 3-mon. Nick's hand has 1 Ryanmen, 2 Ryanmen plus a red Dora, and a normal Dora. A little bit slow, but could have high value. Claire's hand looks really, really strong here, though. It's one of those easy to win Tanyao style hands. And Kevin could potentially get a Sozu Itsu, though. That requires 3 specific draws. So for now, probably just going to tend to a Ricci, but the hand will likely have to fold unless it makes some very, very opportune fills. So Nick has picked... Oh, sorry.
Amy drawing a 6-mon, putting her in potential for Ipeiko?
Yes, that's true. She could get an Ipeiko around the Manzu.
But
and
it
even
does
if she doesn't...
make her lose Dora acceptance if she goes for that.
Well, if it's a 5-6-7 Ipeiko, she can still accept the 8-mon on the other side of the 6-7. So it's actually really good for her because she either gets Ipeiko or she gets the Dora. But she also has the chance for a 7-8-9 Sanshoku. So yeah, a lot of options for value in her hand. What's this? A 9-pin draw. All right, so for now, just keeps her options open. And looks like Nick draws a nice Tuso to complete a hanchan there. Also has a chance for a Sozu Itsu, though it's probably not going to happen. You're more likely to just pair up one of the tiles in your hand and enter Ishanten first. And now Amy, if she's playing efficiently, she'd probably discard the 9-mon or the 9-so here. Figures it's better to get rid of the 9-mon first because it's near the door and it's going to be more dangerous later on. Oh, and Claire makes a very nice fill into Tempai. So, it's a Riichi Pinfu Dora 1. Looking for a 2-5 pin. And it looks like Kevin draws that on the Patsu turn, and he enters Ishanten. He just has to push a 9-so for now. It's Sorogawa. It's outside of the 8-so that Claire discarded on turn 4, so not super duper dangerous, and there's not enough information to fold fully anyway. And Amy can just follow suit with the 9-so, but she's just paired it up. She's considering Chitoi maybe. I don't think we should consider Chitoi too hard though, because if you're going to be chasing, you want to chase on a good weight, and you have the opportunity to call this hand for double east, potentially double east Dora 1. Oh, Kevin draws a 6-pin. That's going to allow him to work around the 8-pin, but it is the Genbutsu, so he tosses it for now, and that 8-pin becomes 1 chance. Now, Nick doesn't know that yet. Oh, actually, he does. He has a 6-pin of his own. It's to fold, though, and then the 8-pin comes out the turn after. That's always painful, but, you know, just commit to your decisions. And Kevin enters a better Ishanten. Now he can accept the 5-8 so. So if he gets the 2-pin with the 9-mon, he'll probably chase, even though there's not a whole lot of value. But Claire's going to sumo first. Reach sumo pin Fudora 1. Plus an Ura to boot will make that a Mongon. If she didn't get that Ura, it would have been 1326 instead of 2k, 4k.
Yeah, like last game, Claire going off with a pretty strong start here. Doesn't have to earn everything back the way she did last time. Although it is a skill in and of itself to keep yourself cool, making sure you don't tilt yourself, and bringing yourself back in.
Yeah, absolutely. Claire is a very, very well-balanced player when it comes to the mental game in person, and it shows. Despite the hardships, she manages to come back pretty frequently. So, just a bit of a score update going into the South round. Dealer Nick has 15,000, Claire has 38,500. Looks like Toyman Kevin has 19,500, and Amy has 27,000. And we're going to see a quick Haku pawn from Kevin, looking to put an end to this dealership. Only has the one red Dora, no access to the normal Dora, but it's a pretty standard Kawashite, a hand to just wash away the dealership and move things along. Just glancing at the other hands, doesn't look like anything is standing out super duper much, though Amy's hand does look like it could progress towards a Tanyao. And now Kevin is contemplating this too, so because it is a way to connect to the door, and he actually likes it enough to get rid of the 9-7 pin. I think I might have opted to get rid of the 8-so first, because you probably want to slim down that shape in Sozu anyway, rather than have the double acceptance of the 7-so. But as is, he makes a good shape in the Pinzu and continues forward with that cut. And we see that Amy's hand has really developed towards that Tanya, maybe even a 2-3-4 Sanshoku. That 2-3-4 Sanshoku is pretty lucky because Claire does have 3 of the 2-mon herself. Or rather, I guess the 2-mon draw was lucky. And there's a 4-mon draw to support it. That'll put Amy in Yishanten, though if she draws a 6-8 pin, she'll probably cut whichever one doesn't pair up to go for that Sanshoku, because there's 3 7 pins gone at this point. So she might even cut it preemptively. And she'll definitely chi it if she gets another chance. Yeah, and we see her drop it now because that 1-mon draw gives her an out to an Itsu if she can draw a 5-mon or a 9-mon.
And the shape's completely gone with a cut of the 6-pin.
Yep, she drew the door 1-so and she has a chance to use it. Nick draws around the door and strengthens that shape a bit, though there is a lot of overlap there. And now Kevin draws the red 5-pin, so he's injected 2 Dora into this hand, making it at least 3,900. And he has a lot of ways to get into Tenpai, looking for the 4, 5, 6, 7 so, or the 8-mon. I think Kevin might have considered keeping that north instead of the 1-pin, because the north is once dropped, and it's a little bit more reliable of a safety tell than the 1-pin is, even if the 1-pin is safe to the dealer.
Meanwhile, Amy drawing a second Dora, dropping the 1-mon, improving her points a little bit, or
Yep,
potential points.
Now she could get that 2, 3, 4 Sanchoku, or she can triple up the Dora 1-so, or she can go for a Pinfu Dora 2 with the Sanchoku. Well, I guess here it's going to be Richi Pinfu Dora 2. She doesn't draw the 4-pin necessary, but this is plenty. And it's going to put Nick into a tough situation. He is in last currently, not far from third, but he'd like to keep the dealership. Tossing the Dora 1-so into the Patu turn does feel really bad, though. So it depends on whether he wants to go for the 7-mon toss or... Okay, I guess he works around with the 9-mon pair toss for now. Yeah, tough point in the hand for him. He could chi that. I think he just noticed it. Oh, no, there's a pawn. Never mind. He could have potentially chi'd that to go for an open Itsu, but it's not super duper efficient. But that would allow him to open the hand and keep the door in it. 2-so draw for Claire. And out goes the Suji 9-pin. There is Tenpai for Kevin, 3, 6-pin. Versus the 2, 5-so.
Like refusing to give up the Dora, keeping the 4-so instead.
Oh, now that 4-pin draw is going to prompt the Genbutsu 3-pin to come out, which means it's a 5-so 5-pin wait versus a 2, 5-so. Oh, and there's the second door over there. Nick is back into Ishan 10, but he still has to get rid of a couple of dangerous tiles here, and he just shoves it forward. He is not in Tenpai, unfortunately. I think he didn't realize that the 7-mon is not, in fact, a 6-mon. However, if one of the other players wins, then it will never be discovered. The problem is that the other players' weights are becoming quite slim. It's just an honest mistake. All right. Kevin finds the 5-so and saves him from that. So Kevin's going to take a Toy Toy. I forgot about the Toy Toy upgrade with that weight. It's a Mangan hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. Toy Toy Hakudora 2. So even though Nick did lose the dealership there, he did not have to pay a Chombo because of the no Tenrichi. So not the worst way to go out, though. You would have preferred not to take the 4K hit. We're going to go into South 2 now. Dora is the Chun, the Red Dragon, and the dealer is Claire. Claire's hand looks like it's probably going to be a concealed one. Not any Dora. She has an Anko of the 5-mon, a pair of the 9-pin, and 2 other shapes. Plus that 7-mon with the 5-mon Anko makes for a good pair-making engine. Kevin has a pretty nice hand on his own, already with the backbone established and a 3 Ryanmen set. 2 in Pinsu, 1 in Manzu. Amy has a red 5. And she has one of the Dora tunes, but the hand is disjointed at the moment. And Nick's hand, kind of similar, has one of the Doras, but a little bit disjointed. No Yaku in sight yet.
Draws a second south though, which might be useful in the future.
Could be, yeah. I think the only way that Nick's hand really gets expensive and worth winning is if he manages to leverage the Chun Dora. And if that's going to happen, unless he pairs it up early, I think he's probably going to aim for a Chitoy Dora 2, or just hold it around as long as possible, because winning a south-only hand here doesn't help him. He doesn't have a dealership. He'll only be at 11,000 from that. There's no Homba. So I imagine he'll probably pass the first pawn, unless he plans to tank on the door or something. Oh no, but he takes it. So maybe the plan is to go for a quick hand and try and draw the door in the meantime. That's going to give Claire a red 5 pin, and Claire loves red 5 pins. But she tosses it back, and she would have kept that if it weren't for the 6-pin discard the previous turn. Because of that, it kind of pushes her away from potentially taking a free pin there. She already has the 899 pin shape anyway. That can accept the 7 pin. That 2-mon draw would put Kevin in Ishan 10, but he doesn't take it. I think Kevin definitely should have taken that, though, but he doesn't want to drop the Dora yet. So for now, he's keeping the 2 Ryanmens, and probably going to drop the Sozu Kanchan if he pairs up the Dora. Oh, there's Kevin's 3 pin. Oh, it's looking like a situation where everyone has a Dora other than Claire. And so no one's going to get that nice triplet. If one of them is lucky, though, they can definitely pair it up, and then if someone else tosses one, it'll become a triplet, but that's quite a slim chance. And as I mentioned earlier, Kevin is now shaving down that 6/8 Soryanmen to go for a Dora Tonki. And there's another chi for Nick, still keeping the store around, still hoping to pair it up, inject some value. And he can actually call to a Hadaka Tonki, if you can cheat the 6/9 mon, the 8 mon, or the 2/5 pin, and guarantee 3 Han like that. But now he drew into a pretty good Ishanten. He rejects it for now, planning to cut the entire block, I guess.
I mean, potentially this is a different type of Ishanten, right?
Yeah, it is a different Ishanten. It's a lot more limited.
Yeah.
I think dropping the 8 mon there, you can still swap your pair around and drop the 4 mon 4 mon. But I guess because the 4 mon is a middle tile, he's probably not too enthusiastic about dropping it into Claire's pond, which is really unusual. There's a 6 pin, there's a red 5 pin. The mons are pretty expensive looking against her. Oh, and there's Tenpai. But does he take it? No, he doesn't. Doesn't want to toss the Dora this late. It is the Yaku High, and if someone pawns it, it's pretty disastrous. And Kevin is in a better Ishanten now, though a lot of the mons are gone. He's actually going to cut it entirely. I think he could have gotten away with just doing the 2 mon, 3 mon, but he's probably scared of Claire's potential Honitsu. At least it kind of looks like one.
Yeah, all of the players are pretty afraid to cut the Dora with only one in each of their hands and not seeing any
Which
out on the table, which is fair.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. I'm just surprised that Kevin cut away from Tempai rather than cutting the 2-3 Mon. But once again, if you look at Claire's discards, the first two rows are pretty much devoid of Manzu. And if you haven't been paying attention to the Tadashi and the Tsumogiri, it looks like it could be a Manzu Honitsu as dealer, which would be a large, large hand. Unfortunately, she did whiff on Tempai there, and now she's playing defensively and dropping the 4 so. So everyone is kind of scaring each other off. It might end up that no one is Tempai at the end. Oh, but Claire does pawn. And now she is in Ishanten, and that's going to give a pawn to Nick, and he's going to wait on the Doratanki. There's one of those left unless someone decides to drop it, and Claire gets into Tempai at the last second for Toy potential San Anko if she can draw the 6 Mon or the 9 pin. Nasty
Scriven goes into
hand.
the 6 Mon. So he's gonna have to keep that for a while, but without the knowledge of what's in Claire's hand.
Oh, no. Oh, but you have to cut it. You have to cut it. You're not going to toss the Dora that late. That's unfortunate. So it'll be a Toy Dora 1, which with the Fu, 4, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, it should be enough to round up. So that'll be a 7,700 as dealer. 3 Han, 40 Fu. Man, what an unexpected finish. Straying away from Tempai only to go into Toy Sananko Dora 1 Tempai as Claire, and then everyone else kind of folding out into the last second.
Claire starting with a couple of Souths and the Dora in hand is pretty good start. A little bit slow, but you know,
The
not bad.
Dora is the 1
9 pin?
so.
Oh, that's those. Yes. Never
So,
mind.
all good. But she can accept the Dora because she has the 2 so in hand, and indeed she just drew it. So yes, it is a hand with the Dora in it in the south. You're just reading a turn ahead. Looks like Kevin can go for a 1-2-3 Sanchoku, but he decides to cut it away here. I think that's trying to think. Thinking is hard. I don't know. I think that might be a little bit preemptive, but oh, and there he would have been one away from confirming that Sanchoku, but he could still shift to a 2-3-4 Sanchoku potentially. Looks like Amy's hand is tending towards a Pinfu. She's currently 2 Shanten for that. And Nick's hand just paired up a 4 pin, looking for a potential Tanya. But there's Kevin and Ishanten after a 3 so draw, looking for the 2-5 pin or the 6 so. And Nick's Tanya solidifies even more. The players are definitely picking up the pace at this point. They are more than warmed up. As Kevin here, you could cut the 1 so, but he doesn't want to cut out the Dora. He doesn't cut out the 1 pin either, though. Maybe hoping,
Ipiko.
yeah, maybe hoping for an Ipeko, but you're giving up acceptance there. And even if you get the Ipeko, you'll still be Ishanten, right? I think Ipeko is a little bit overvalued, just in general. So the 2 pin does look very strong given the 1 pin cuts from the other players. And indeed, all the remaining ones are in the wall. Nick's Ipeko, though, is really good here. Oh, no, I don't think he should cut from that shape. Just because the pair isn't solidified for the hand yet, I would probably cut the 7-8 mod or the 7-8 so there. Probably the 7-8 mod just because it overlaps with the 4-5 mod, and we want to leave the 4-5 mod room to breathe. But now, if you draw the 3-6 pin, you're going to be a little sad because that would have put you in Ishanten. And you lose the potential Ipeko. So for Nick's hand, I would like to keep that Ipeko shape. Well, there's his Ishanten. Ends up working out anyway. And so now Nick is looking for the 3-6-1 or the 6-9 so. If he gets the Takame 6 so, he'll have a Mentanpin Dora 2. So on Tsumo Ahaneman. And of course, Kevin has paired up the Dora since we last talked about his hand. So he's looking for the 2-5 pin or the 4-7 so for a Ricci pin for Dora 2. And is Amy Tempai here? I believe she is on the 4-7 pin. Yeah, she calls the Ricci. So this will be a Ricci pin Futanyao. And unfortunately, keeping that 4 pin around could be the bane of Nick's existence, unless he draws a 7 pin and decides that the 8 mon is safer to push.
Claire not punning the south from Nick. Potentially not knowing what the drop in the face of Amy's Ricci, other than it's south.
And Claire is in first place, so she doesn't really want to risk dealing into a potentially large hand at this stage in the game, especially with one of the Honba out. Amy paused for a split second there, but no, she could not con the 6 mon. And Claire is potentially considering calling this for either a 7-8-9 Sanchoku or an Itsu or a Junchan.
Oh,
Very
Kevin,
flexible.
Kevin draws the 7 so, which potentially would fit
It does if he's willing to.
Senpai.
He is Tempai, I think, but he's chosen not to call Ricci for a couple turns. I don't know if he was looking for the Sanchoku upgrade or if he just doesn't feel confident chasing. So he takes the 1-turn delay Ricci, looking for the 4-so. Of course, we know that the 4-so is 3 times dead. 1 left in the wall. Oof, that's gotta hurt. Cut the 6-so, the 7-so, and then you draw the 5-so. So in some ways, Nick has gotten lucky not drawing into Tempai yet. He could Chi here and be Aruzuke, but doesn't. And this might save him. This might really save him. If he can find the 8-mon pair cut, and he does, and that's going to keep him from dealing in here. And now he has a chance. But Kevin Sumo's the final 4-so after a 1-turn delay Ricci. Wasn't so confident in the weight, and rightly so, but all you need is 1, so it's a Ricci Sumo Dora 2 for a Magan.
Yeah, the first way would have put Kevin in for E10, though this was exceptionally lucky, considering there were the other 4s in the other players' hands.
I wasn't paying attention to it that much at the time, but it made sense. Definitely a lucky draw, though. So, Kevin's dealership, it is South 3. Dora is the West, and there are no Honba on the table. The hand doesn't look too magnificent. One of the Dora, but it's a hard Dora to use, being the non-seat wind. Amy has 3 pairs of honors, and a pair of the 3-so too, and something behind her hand. She has a 7-8 mine also, so she can pawn the Chun and go for a Mangan if she gets the West. And then Nick's hand looks fairly fast. Could develop that towards a 4-5-6 Sanshoku potentially if he draws around the 6 mon. And Claire's hand has a red 5 and a couple of pairs just picked up on a Sozurianman, but a little bit slow. And there's the north pawn for Amy. She also has the backup of Toy Toy potentially. At the moment is looking for just that tune. There's 1 in Nick's hand and 1 in the wall.
Toy looks really appealing for Amy right now, but, you know, I think you'll take any points you can get to go into your dealership.
Absolutely. And in this case, getting the 3-so for a Toy is going to be a little bit difficult. Whenever you're going for Toy and you're reliant on middle tile pairs, it's usually not a good hand to go for Toy on unless it's only like one or two of that, or maybe one at most. Because those tiles on top of them just being risky discards against everyone later on are just very useful for people, so they're unlikely to flow out naturally. And you end up getting stuck a lot. Like, there's one of the 3-sos. Claire's can use it, and she could use another one, too. Kevin has the other. Kevin's hand has moved forward a bit, but it's still really slow. It's still 2 shanten with no value and all bad weights.
Amy drawing the other 8 mon.
And
Pushing
now,
the...
yeah, now you can go for the Toy maybe, because the 8 mon and the Chun you think aren't that hard to call, and then at that point you're potentially Hanemon, right? Chun, Toy, Dora 3. Or even San Anko if you draw it yourself. But that's still 2 away. And that Chun hasn't come out from Nick's hand yet. I'm also thinking that at this point, given Kevin's past record of play, that unless he makes draws of the 3-pin in the 5-mon specifically, he's probably not going to drop the Dora West. And there's the pawn. So Amy enters Ishanten over here. She's deciding to greed for the Toy chance. I think, given her score line, if she wants to aim for first, that's fine. She does have a dealership, though, and this is already a 3-han hand with potentially 4-han if you just accept the Ryuanmen Ishanten. So I might have just taken the efficiency there, especially since we're in the second row. And I don't really expect to be able to win on the 3-so or the West if I go for the Toy with an 8-mon pawn. So she's basically looking to draw the 3-so herself if she wants a chance at Toy, and that's impossible. And we saw something interesting the previous turn. We're focusing on Amy, but Nick actually passed Tenpai, didn't want to drop the red 5-so, and wants the chance for a 5-6-7 Sanshoku. So he passes Tenpai, and he definitely needs the points, so it makes sense. You don't want to be just taking a Tanyao only Richi. However, imagine if we see a 4-so draw that he'll probably call Richi and maybe even open Richi. And this 8-mon will just go back. And that's going to be the pawn for Amy. And she is going to greed in this case for the 3-so West. I just don't see it coming out, though.
There is a stranded West in Claire's hand, but I don't think that's coming out ever.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Dora, right? Even if it's the off-wind Dora, it's very unusual that it hasn't been dropped by this point. And if there's someone with 3 pawns open and a Yakuhai, you're not going to trust that. So Amy's hand is entirely dead. She would have summoned the 4-so the turn after. Not that she would have known, but I think at this stage in the game, you just have to take the better weight and accept your 3-han. I think it's like way too ambitious. Nick is probably going to call Richi here. Discard the 5-pin. He can open Richi to punish Amy a little bit. And he definitely needs the points. He's really deciding. Okay, doesn't want to do it yet. Looking for either the Ipeiko or the Sanshoku. Going for the
And
big bucks.
unfortunately the 4-so comes out from Claire.
Yeah.
Potentially a winning tile for Amy.
I mean, Amy drew the 4-so herself also right afterwards.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But yeah, that's 2 wins missed. And like I was saying earlier, the 3-so doesn't seem like it should come out. The West doesn't seem like it should come out. So the Toy is a little bit of a pipe dream in my eyes. But it makes sense for Amy to push for more value if she wants to go for first, even if she has a dealership left. Might see an 8-pin drop here. Just going to continue to fold, I suppose. I mean, what Amy has achieved is that she's scared off the table with these 3 pawns, but she also missed a win. And Nick passes that and enters into two shanten. I think Nick at this point, unfortunately, even though he passed a couple of tempais, didn't have the value he wanted, and so it's not terrible for him. And there he is in E shanten now. If he can drop the 8-pin, which is Suji, and once dropped, or he can just drop the 5-pin, which we know passed just a couple turns ago. I think he should do that. Yeah. So he has a chance at tempai now. Maybe even a sneaky run at the end of the game. I think Amy should show her hand so that the lovely people who are watching our stream can see. But she is waiting on the 3-so west if you've just tuned in.
And the last two Wests are stranded in Kevin and Claire's hand. Kevin thinking about what to drop at this point.
So it doesn't look like Nick manages to get tempai after all. And Amy will, of course, not sumo here. All right, one player tempai. So Amy did get tempai for the Hanuman chance. Nick a little bit frustrated here. Slams the 1K stick down. But understandably so, given the standings. And we go into South 4.
And there should be one Hanbo on the table. There we go. Thank you, Claire.
EP1. Dora is the 5-pin. Doesn't look like she's starting with any. I guess I should just give a quick score update while we have a chance. Looks like Amy is at 23,500. Nick is at negative 1,200. Claire is in close second with 38,700. And in first place is Kevin with 39,000, who has really been bringing things back for his team. So Claire's goal here is just, okay, win any hand. The Honba makes that enough. Kevin, same idea. Let me just win any hand before Claire does. Amy, she's aiming for repeats. She wants a chance to get into second place with a direct smack off of Claire. And then Nick just has to go for large value. I think at this point he can even settle for just damage control. But he has the workings of a big hand here.
Yeah, you have the two red 5s, potentially Peiko.
Yeah, I can see this being a Richi Pinfu Dora 2, or if you get the Ipeiko and find a pair elsewhere, a Richi Pinfu, Ipeiko Dora 2, you'd have to pair up one of the red 5s for that, but not an impossibility. You got to dream big. Looks like Amy has drawn into an Anko of the 9, so her hand is chugging along nicely. And Claire here, moving towards a fast Tanyao Tenpai. She's already Ishanten, looking for a 8-mon, 5-pin, 6-pin, or a 6-9 so. Ideally wants the 6-so for the Tanyo Dama. And she has Dora 3. So if she gets into Tenpai on the 5 or the 8-pin draws, she's probably just going to slam the Richi, because you don't want to have to overlook a 9-so win from anyone. It's just a game-winning hand. However, if you do get a 6-so, or you draw the 7-mon now that she's made that shift, you're going to Dama for the Pin Fudora 3. And Kevin is likewise in Ishanten for a Pinfu, looking for the 3-6-0-5-8-mon. Amy is Ishanten too, so there's a 3-way fight here. And Nick is not far behind at 2 Shanten. And Claire has gotten Tempai, and as we said earlier, she takes the Dama on the 6-9, so she doesn't need anything else here. Unfortunately, a lot of that 6-9 so is dead. However, if Amy gets Tempai on the 5-8 so, the 6 so will likely come out. The reason it might not come out if she draws the 4-7 mon is if she decides to be greedy for a San Anko instead of the good weight.
Is Amy the type of person you think that would
Yes.
yep.
We saw what she
Should
did
greed
last
for it?
round, right?
Yeah.
She had a 3-Han Tempai but went for the Haneman, even though it was very unlikely that late to come out. So yeah, during her dealership, you know, if someone else wins, someone else wins. If she's Tempai, she gets the repeat even if she takes the bad weight. So I think she's in a position where she can greed for that value, and here it seems a little more realistic. Oh, Claire draws another Dora. Decides to cut one from in the hand, disguising the waiting area. Though it's a little bit suspicious because she discarded the 6-7 pin before. So you have to wonder if that's just an attempt to trick someone. Oh, there's a 6-0 for Nick. So that's 1 6-0 left in the wall for Claire. But that's it.
Oh,
And there it is. Kevin is on the 5-8 mon Tempai. So it really depends on... Oh, no. There it is. So that will be a Pinfu Dora 1 for Kevin. 2,000 plus a repeat is 3,500 to end the game. And the final standings will be Kevin in first place with, just waiting for the scores to update fully, with 42,000,
500 and Claire with 38.7, Amy with I can't see what Amy's score is.
just waiting for the hand to move out of the way a little bit. That's the limitation of using these camera views, but
I think Amy is 23.5 and Nick is minus 47 or
Yep.
4.7.
so definitely a tough game. Not as swingy as last time. It was kind of more of a quick division of the top two and the bottom two, and then kind of just hovering back and forth in those regions. But definitely, I think a lot more of a reactive game than the previous one. We saw a lot of people kind of psyching each other out, taking very careful steps to avoid each other, a little bit less pushing. And in the end, Kevin brings it home for Team Yakumen, gives them 2 very much so needed first places.
Yeah, this is a huge boon for the Yakumen. Unfortunately for the Opie Dopes, they're going to be moving down a little bit. I think the Destroyers kind of stay in the same spot, but the FalKANs, I think, might get a little bit of a boon. Though they are... No, they have the 2 games after this. So we'll see how the standings update after this, but it was a very interesting game and very impactful for all the standings. Any closing thoughts that you have before we log out?
Well, I believe that the scores have been put in by now. So I'll just give you a rundown of the overall standings. In first place, we have Queen's Mahjong Triad with 443.1. In second, the Brooklyn Howers hold on with 212.3. The Peregrine FalKANs are in third with 196.6. In fourth, we have Time Yakumen, who has climbed up to negative 12.7. The Destroyers are at negative 111.2 after 8 games. The Emperor Penguins at minus 125.7. The Opie Dopes at minus 190.1. And Rinshang Kaimbros with minus 416.3. Of course, we are only halfway through the season, and there are still 8 more games to go for every single team, so that could change things vastly. But I think that's about it for us. Of course, make sure to tune in next week as well. We'll have new players yet to be announced playing on the 3rd, I believe.
I also believe it is the 3rd.
Yeah, so tune in March 3rd and the week after on March 10th for some more exciting coverage of Richinomi's Eden League games. Until then, this has been Eric,
And
followed
Wes?
by... Yes, Wes. And thank you so much for helping us out with the commentating today.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, see you
We'll s-
guys next week.